What's good, chat? Welcome to another show. How are we doing in this awesome Thursday? All right. I hope y'all are doing well because we are about to get into it today. Okay. So shout out to you guys. Welcome to the show. Listen, if you haven't hit the like button yet, please go ahead and smash the like button. Okay. Because today's sponsor or show sponsor is by the like button. Okay. So let's just go ahead and smash that like button and sponsor the show. Thank you guys very much. So we got to talk about the most important news that's going on right underneath our noses because this is part of, I would say, phase 3. Now, remember what I told you guys, that the domination of that pendulum swinging to the right is coming ever sooner, okay? And it started with us talking about, people in the red pill, and we started seeing people like Candace Owens. All of a sudden, her management team is dealing with Pearl, and then they're graduating from, dating advice to then politics and, things like that, inviting the likes of Nick Fuentes, who, by the way, shares similar ideologies to what we're seeing now coming out of the far left. Now, let me just be straight. The far left, it's a completely different breed, not just the normal left, which, although these are the people who are now leaving in droves. Yes, you heard that. There are people right now who are liberals, centrists are pretty much centrist, and that's where we are. Hey, shout out to y'all. If you're not, it's cool, but we tend to stay in the middle over here because we choose common sense over emotions. Okay, now sometimes we laugh a little bit and things like that, but we figure that the world has gotten too polarized. You're either one side or the other. There's no room for people like us, so we gotta have our own stuff over here and just see what's going on. All right, and I would even put Destiny in the same boat as well. But yes, a lot of people usually would think that Destiny was on the left. But I think his journey, and I honestly thought that too, not the far left, but like the left, right? And I thought that, throughout his whole red pill arc, that kind of maybe brought him towards the center a little bit, because at least he was able to see things from the right wing perspective that makes sense to him. And you could see that pretty much emanate through his debate skills as he ran rough shots after rough shots after rough shots through all these red pill bozos, leaving them with freaking PTSD till now. I mean, it's crazy, okay? So yes, I felt as though that brought him center, okay? And yeah, we're starting to see the left pretty much leave the left, and they're moving toward either conservative movements or towards more centrist movements now, because they're seeing how crazy the left has gotten, right? It's actually, I'm surprised it took this long for people to realize that. I mean, at first it was just a Trump hatred covering that kind of, kept a lot of people blinded, especially people who are normal people on the left, right? I have friends who are on the left. I have friends who are on the right, right? So we have good dialogue, and we're not crazy people. We're able to talk to each other. But online, you see this animosity where you have to have this one thing or not, right? It's very emotionally charged, leaving almost zero room for dialogue or nuance anywhere. And that's what we're seeing right now. Right? It started with the whole Trump thing and COVID and things like that, where people were really noticing it. I mean, it started way before this with cancel culture. Kind of reminds me of that South Park episode where those two old farmers, when the whole PC culture was seeping through the town there, and you got the PC principle moving about, right? Yeah, they basically predicted that, right? How like the pendulum was swinging right to left, and the old guy was like, "I've seen this once before." Right? Yeah. So again, that's what happened. For a while, the left had power, and now we're seeing that slowly move over with these outrageous displays of insanity we're seeing from the left, right? And we're just seeing the soul disintegration into madness with a lot of these people. And we're now seeing the bastardization of certain causes, right? You see BLM and some of this other stuff that were valid on the left. Now, all of a sudden, you get hijacked by what we call wokeism. Okay, wokeism is the extreme version, right? What the people on the far right would say, Antifa. Okay, Antifa, right? The people with the mask going through the streets and breaking shit, and then let's separate this from like people, peaceful protesters, right? Because we always have people who come and they protest in good faith. They have dialogue in good faith, but there's always some far extremists that hijacks the movement for whatever emotional fuckfest they want to use it for, right? And we see this happen time after time with almost every single movement happening on the far left. They seem to just hijack it and then throw their own intersection movement to like move alongside it, right? So then they'll say, okay, well, we're gonna let's take the recent example, like the Palestinian and Israel debate situation going on, which is basically the single reason that has pretty much fractured the left. Okay, the left, the people who are normal are starting to see that, yeah, these guys are unhinged. Like the fact that you guys aren't even willing to have a dialogue with this Palestinian and Israel situation is crazy. And now you guys are just casting out people who have questions or who are just trying to have a conversation with it. Okay, if there's no room for us on the left, where are we gonna go? And the problem is now you're seeing people go towards more conservative movement. And one of the channels we're gonna react to, actually, before we get into the Destiny clip, explains it very well on why they're leaving the left and then they're going over to be a conservative. Now, I don't think going from left, being a leftist to a conservative is a really good idea. It seems like a jump to me. I have some questions about that, but we're seeing that outflow from those movements, which could only mean one of two things. We're this red wave the Republicans was predicting, before with Trump would never materialize. It actually may have a shot this time. Okay, especially with the recent 2023 Republican debate. This Vivek guy is looking pretty interesting. But I'm gonna tell you this guy, you can tell he's smart. Okay, he's not thinking about this election cycle because he's not gonna win. He's gonna hand it over to Trump. The Trump party's too strong. But I'm suspecting he's angling a bigger position within the Trump administration, which is probably going to set him up for the next election cycle, which he will most definitely win. So I see the right, and I see how they're plotting and navigating this movement. And the Israel and Palestine debacle right now is basically a make or break, right? Because people on the far left, at least the far lefties, have, of course, though, what lefties do. They hijack the movement and they've taken it to the extreme, right? All these peaceful protests that we're seeing on the pro-Palestinian side somehow just turns violent, and you get these people beating up on innocent Jews or people who aren't even Jews. They're just walking by trying to do their thing, and they're just getting beat up. Or people who are on the other side, let's say they're Christians and they're protesting, doing a pro-Israel protest along with the pro-Palestine protest, right? We're seeing these mobs attack. And again, where have we seen this before? We've seen this with every major protest that the leftist movement that have been involved in, and the wokeism has infected, right? So again, it's gotten violent and it's getting a lot of people to think, okay, am I with the right party here? But if that wasn't enough, there's another thing that's getting a lot of people on the left, especially the irrational, very, very worried. And it's the blatant disregard for the facts on the ground when it comes to the whole Palestinian and Israel situation, right? Matter of fact, this basically exposed how insanely stupid our college age educated individuals are in terms of even knowing the basics of what's happening within that region. And it almost makes a lot of people start wondering what is going on in these universities. Now, before it was a lot of conservatives and right-wing people who were like, yo, these universities are cancer, right? And then that you got the Andrew Tate offshoot where they say, hey, colleges versus scam. And I don't think it's a scam, but I do think they don't give you the full information. Go to school. Believe me, you'll get a nice job afterwards. But yes, now you're starting to see people on the left starting to share those same sentiments. Like, if you youngins are coming out here with these ideologies that don't even make any sense, you're not doing the movement any justice. For instance, right, when it comes down to the Palestinian situation, a lot of the people on the far left have an issue separating Hamas, which is a known terrorist organization, from the Palestinian people, right? So people on the left see Hamas as actual freedom fighters for the Palestinian people without really understanding how deep this shit really goes. They're not freedom fighters. They're a terrorist group. You guys have to understand this. And the fact that you guys are ignoring everything to even realize the truth here is crazy. And it's honestly scaring a lot of older people who are now realizing, yeah, wait, yeah, we know terrorism. That's terrorism. We want the Palestinian people to be free. We don't want Hamas. We essentially want the Palestinian people to be free from Hamas. Okay, they need to go, right? Especially as facts on the ground starts to come out about how they basically divert resources from even feeding the people down there to making weapons and bombs and things like that. And you know what the crazy thing is, when you bring up certain of these facts to make people realize, hey, you're not gonna get people on your side if you keep saying, you know what, let's disregard the fact that they're terrorists moving in, all right, in this town and pretty much holding them hostage. All right, let's not do that. You guys are including that because you have this paradigm of, well, listen, since a bunch of European Jews migrated and took over this British mandate area at the time called Palestine. Okay, well, I mean, it's a colonial situation all over again. The oppressor or the European oppressors are oppressing the local people. And it's like, yo, dude, are you stupid? When it was under British mandate, they were Arabs and Jews and Christians living in that area. It was always a diverse thing. Yeah, the European Jews did come over and they did start taking over territories, but you got to look into the history of that to figure out where, the occupation a lot of you guys are screaming about really came into play. Because again, if Jews were there before the European Jews got there, who's occupying who? And if it wasn't an official state, if it was a mandate, that means it wasn't a country at the time. They just got that shit from the Ottoman Empire that lost it in the war. Okay, so people, again, a lot of these guys like to talk about World War I, World War II, all this stuff. You guys have no idea of history. And the thing is, if we had the honest dialogue about this, people would start to see the truth of the situation, and we would actually start to work together to actually find a stable solution of peace, which I think the best solution is a two-state solution. But in order to get a two-state solution, we have to free Palestine from Hamas because they don't want a two-state solution. The reason why? Because of Qatar. Now, a lot of people I've seen even make this argument, or not even make this argument, have this conversation. They're not bringing in this tiny little Gulf state into play, right? Because Qatar, okay, they believe in a different version of Islam, okay? And their version, basically, what they're trying to do is spread that influence across the Middle East, right? So if Qatar are Sunni Muslims, okay, and let's say Saudi Arabia are not Sunni, I'm sorry, Qatar is Shia Muslim and Saudi Arabia is Sunni Muslim, okay, Qatar is using terrorist groups like Al Qaeda, Hezbollah, and of course Hamas to spread Shiaism throughout the Middle East. Okay, now if you notice, there's a reason why a lot of these countries in the Arab regions and Middle Eastern regions, they're not accepting certain people moving over. Now they're making certain concessions, but they understand what's going on with that. It actually goes deeper than this. Not only that, it's the best way for us, and I say us as in the US, to keep control of that region. Not only having Israel there to make things happen, but also Qatar there to also make things happen. Essentially, we're creating a situation where a bunch of these Arab countries fight each other while we run away with the oil dominance. That's essentially what's going on. All right. You got people aren't even talking about that. They're not talking about how these guys are getting funding and all these different things. They just see it from an oppressor and a colonized mentality, which makes it crazy because a lot of people are getting emotionally charged over nothing. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Now it's gotten so bad, you're practically handing the election right over to the Republicans because now there are a bunch of people who were probably going to vote left. They're looking at this and saying, yeah, if those guys can't see the difference between a terrorist organization and people who are being fucked up, okay, and the worst thing is they're not even willing to admit the fact that Hamas is purposely putting civilians in danger by having rockets in hospitals. Because if you guys were such tough guys, okay, you tough militants, they're going to bring about the end of everything. Well, then you would have your own base established. You will have your own situation set up where, okay, if you wanted a war, then you go for it, where they know where the soldiers are, they know where the bases are. You can have bases on the ground, most definitely, but definitely not in civilian areas because you are essentially committing a war crime. And no one seems to talk about that. Yes, Israel's violence is horrific when it comes to Palestinian, especially Palestinian kids, right? There are footages all around Twitter of Palestinian kids being roughed up severely by Israeli soldiers. And it's like, yo, what the that's a kid, yo. Like, are you kidding me? Right. And again, these are the things that you have to see. But if you're far away from this nonsense, if you're all the way in the safety cushions of the West and you're not taking your time and doing the due diligence to understand the situation so we can actually work towards a solution for the Palestinian people, you're doing nothing else but turn people against you. Case in point, what's going on in the West right now, where a lot of people are fleeing in droves away from a lot of these far leftists because they're starting to understand for the first time that these people they don't really get it. And the most interesting icing I want to put on this cake is with Destiny. Now I want to say shout out to Destiny because Destiny has been running rough shots. I mean, after he got completed with his red pill arc over here, now he's on his political arc all over again with the situation, and he's been running rough shots over so-called journalists and debaters who think they know about the situation, but in reality they're just making things worse. Like it's literally opening people's eyes to realize that a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about just because they're journalists actually don't know what they're talking about, and Destiny is embarrassing them. Now I don't know how much, because it seemed like Destiny acquired a lot of this research like fairly recently, and he's doing a really freaking good job, like actually going against this people and combating the ideas in a rational way. Now, another person I would mention, Ben Shapiro. Like, he's an idiot. Okay, he's not an idiot in the sense of like he's an idiot. Just when it comes to reviewing movies, this guy sucks. Okay, and clearly he's a puppet. But still, when it comes to this situation, obviously he's a Jew, so he has some say in the matter and things like that. But he recently did a debate where he went to Oxford University and Cambridge. And I don't know which one was worse. I think the Oxford one was worse. The Cambridge one, they were pretty cool. No, yeah, it was the Cambridge one. They were actually pretty cool. You could tell the students didn't know what they were talking about. But when it came to Oxford, it was horrible. Like you can see a lot of these, like these students not even coming there to really debate or find out what's really going on. It's more to like just grandstand because it's Ben Shapiro, and it really just exposed how much students, university educated students who are in elite Ivy League schools, okay, like Cambridge and Oxford, what the fuck are they teaching you? Like, what are you? If you're gonna come out spewing this crap, what? You're paying for a rotten brain. That's what you're paying for. If literally after 4 years of school, the questions you asked him were what you asked them, which was completely embarrassing. And the world for the first time realized, yeah, maybe our college age kids are stupid. We might be in trouble here. He's not wrong. Listen, people on the right they were saying this, right? You're like, oh, universities, why are they teaching them, right? And now, ever since that, people are like, yeah, these college kids are dumb. They're freaking dumb, and I don't blame them. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this first video, and we'll get into it because he actually lays it out well. I just don't agree that he should make the jump from being a left to a conservative. I think that's a really steep jump. And some of the claims he made were very interesting. Like conservatives are better on like the issue and whatnot. I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna just be real with you, okay? But this is a valid problem that we have to tackle. Otherwise, that big red wave is actually gonna happen, and I can see the Republicans dominating for at least the next 16 years, okay? Especially with Trump and then Vivek and then Vivek again. It's going to happen. If you guys don't see it.
People like me have just stood by and not kind of picked a side because we've always been like, well, if Islamism and jihadism is wrong, then so is the far-right ideology. And we've been in a bit of a conundrum. We're like, which side to pick? Okay. Now, strategically speaking, Islamists want our heads on a pike. There's no two ways about it. Listen to this guy.
This is a part of our religion. There's a reason to it. Yeah, there's a reason why there's a capital punishment, because people like you, little weaklings who leave their religion and cause corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Yeah. Capital punishment will be applied in an Islamic state.
And their voices in the Western world is just getting louder and louder. So where did we go wrong? I know where we went wrong. Anyone who stood up to this kind of rhetoric, we labeled them far-right, bigot, and white supremacist Nazis.
That's true. And now we're finding that we're labeling each other that now, which is freaking crazy.
That's what we call them. Traditionally speaking, people like us, people who are left-leaning, liberals, seculars of the Muslim world, our natural allegiance would have been with the left. But the left of the West is so deluded that they can't get out of this oppressed paradigm. So they think that, oh, LGBTQ and other persecuted minority of the West have been oppressed by the white man. And the Muslims are saying the same thing, that they are oppressed by the white man. Therefore, we're both oppressed. And therefore, the white man is our enemy. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But what they forget is that the people they're getting in bed with, they're also the far right of the Muslim world. And there are another class of people from within that community, i.e. people like us, there's LGBTQ, political dissidents, atheists, secularists, liberal people within the Muslim world who are the left of the Muslim world. So the left of the...
That's facts. And people don't really understand that, right? And this is where it's even on the conservative side, there's a lot of misinformation. That's why I think this guy's got to be careful, right? Because people don't realize there are liberal Muslims out there. Like they're like all because what people on the left think, or not on the left, on the right think when they think about Muslims are this like ultra strict, jihad type of thing. No, because you don't see that. Even some of the Muslims I know, it's not like they're just people, bro. It is what it is. But when you do go to these other countries where it's like basically Islam and the religion and the political is the religion and the political establishment, right? Like some of these Middle Eastern countries, then your laws are a little bit strict, right? And I use myself as an example. I'm from Nigeria, right? We in some of our states we actually have Sharia law, right? Which is a law that it's mostly Islamic, and the punishments and things like that. It's pretty aggressive. You would say it's beyond the right, but then even then you'll find Muslims who don't agree with that type of capital punishment or that type of strict behavior, right? It's crazy. But again, and you know what's crazy? Those far right Muslims end up killing the moderate or the liberal Muslims, which is insane. So again, it's the problem of the ideology of people who are in those super far right movements, right? Let's separate that from people who are rational here. Otherwise, the whole system collapse.
The Muslim world should ally with the left of the Western world. Yeah, that's so commonsensical. But no, look at this. This is the far left of the West. They are allying themselves with the...
This shit would far left. This shit would never work, right? Even people on the left who are rational and they're smart, right? People who know things, they understand the certain laws and certain the ways that other countries move, right? So they instantly, when they see stuff like this and say, hey, why are you lumping leftist movements with this? Queers for Palestine would never work. Never work in the Middle East. What are you guys doing? This doesn't make any sense. You are not, because this is right here is what you call the intersection bullshit that they do now, right? Where every struggle is a struggle. Like everybody's struggle, let's lump it into one. You can't do that. Palestine, Israel, that's a separate issue. Black issues, white issues, that's separate. We'd appreciate if you guys stop hijacking these movements so we can actually have something that works. Is, you know, we're in complete chaos right now. But this is what I'm talking about. They hijack it, put this intersection bullshit and say, you know, we're not just for black folks, we're for black folks and gays. We're not just for gays, we're for gays, trans, and there's everybody. Listen, at some point, we're individuals at the same time. We got our own ways we like to define ourselves, but we're individuals. If we have struggles, we have our own struggles. When you start lumping all these different movements into one thing, it just starts to it starts to make a mess of everything. And now with the whole Palestine situation, because of a lack of understanding, y'all are coming in and saying, yeah, let's do this. Listen, maybe some of the liberal Muslims and moderate Muslims are gonna be okay with this, but Palestine, at least the Gaza and the West Bank area, they are strict on their rules. You need to read up on other countries' laws and how they move. This shit will never fly. I would appreciate if you kept the message towards what's actually going on the strip, which is eliminating the terrorists and freeing the people from Hamas. But apparently, these guys are idiots. They don't get it. And this is scaring a lot of people.
Of the West, they are allying themselves with the far right of the Muslim world. So that's been the conundrum of people like us. Okay, well, the left is screwed. So we thought that, okay, no, maybe the left would eventually wake up to the reality of what Islamism truly is. But no, it's actually getting worse. They are now becoming anti-Semites.
It's
they
not
are
a troll.
now.
This is the shit that's scaring me. And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Chat. Remember a while ago when this was during the whole Pearl thing, right? And I said, watch out for some of these not liberals, leftists, right? The ones who were like super gung-ho about the black movements, right? Because I've had personal experience with a bunch of people on the far left, okay? And remember I told y'all that people on the far left, they're racist. It's just they hide it better, right? And again, I keep quoting the Malcolm X, the fox and the wolf, right? The fox puts a mask on, pretends to be your friend, gets in the door of your movement, and then cannibalize you, right? Because, oh, it's a harmless fox. It's a little guy. What's it going to do, right? But the wolf, everyone's scared of the big bad wolf, right? So everyone just closes the door, never lets it in. They don't pay the mind to the fox. And I've always that quote stuck with me because a lot of these lefties, bro, I'm telling you, I've heard some anti-Semitic shit before, right? And some of them, they'd say it as jokes, but I have to check them on that. Because like, yo, come on, bro. So when I'm not around, you say the N-word? Is that what it is? You need to stop with that. They can get anti-Semitic with the jokes, right? Again, the same thing when it comes to black folks. Some of these people, the kind of stereotypes they harbor around black folks, and when you talk to them as a black man in America, talking to them about like certain issues, the kind of stereotypes they bring up, you almost tend to understand, oh, wow, you don't know shit about black people, do you? You don't understand it, right? You really don't know how people move. We're not a monolith. You know that, right? We don't act a certain way. We're all different. We're just like you, just our color is different, right? So I've always been peeping that. And what solidified it for me was when I did that Hassan video, all right, when Hassan was going in and trying to act like I'm for Palestinian people, and in the same breath calls them dirty Arabs. He's using it as a joke. But we know it's like, bro, why are you? And I kept calling that out throughout the video. I'm like, why are you regarding them as dirty Arabs? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he keeps putting the stereotype that they're dumb just because they don't have as much as Israel does. And it's like, are you stupid? These guys have access to technology. They have access to sophisticated weapons. They're not stupid. They're not dirty. Why are you coming up with all these stereotypes? And then it hit me. Far left are no different than the far right, similar to the red pill and feminists, right? We know that feminists are pretty much on the opposite side of the same coin as these red pill tards. Okay, it's the same thing with the far right and the far left. Y'all niggas need to get married. That's what I'm starting to believe. But again, I've always suspected that. That's why I'm not surprised. A lot of this anti-Semitic shit is popping up. And the more this filters through, the more people starts to get real worried. They start to get real worried because now people are right, all right, at least the moderate right who were screaming against this stuff and calling y'all the real fascists, they're starting to look right. You're starting to prove them right. Y'all actually, like when they're saying, no, y'all and Antifa, all you motherfuckers, y'all the real Nazis, and y'all will say, no, we got to punch a fascist. You guys are looking exactly like that. Let me show you something. There was a protest here in Chicago, right? And here's where people are going crazy, right? In Chicago, that's not far from me. That's like a hop, skip, and a jump. I'm in Wisconsin, so we know this shit is happening. This is a pro-Palestinian rally that went down, and look how these just mobs of woke hijackers decided to just go in and start brutalizing people. Again, we've seen this before. He's an old man. What did they do to you? What did they do to you? Well, I can't really tell if he's old. He looks like he's pretty young, right? But look at this. What did they do to you, right? And we see these types of behaviors. We see when the George Floyd went down, all right, and we had the peaceful protest. All of a sudden, people en masse hijacked it and they turned it into this. And then what ended up happening? The first time America came together, uniting against a racial incident, when we can clearly point and say that was racist, that movement got destroyed because you got radicals who probably don't got a daddy or a mommy that pays attention to them in their lives, who are out there on the streets because they're bored. They're bored, and then they ruin movements for good people. So now people who are on the rational left, they're looking at this and saying, well, why would I be involved with this? Like, what's going on here? This is kind of crazy. Are we just beating up people? Like, why do we do this? This reminds us of the mobs when people were breaking down and running up in the buildings and stealing shit. All right, it was supposed to be peaceful, right? So now you're turning people's movements away from the Palestinian people's cause, right? They actually have a cause, right? They have what they're protesting about, the violence against their people. That makes sense, and I'm all for it, right? They need the march and letting people know and raise awareness. But when you do shit like this, other people who are watching and saying, well, I don't want to be a part of that. And plus, we realized that, hey, didn't Hamas live stream their invasion? We saw everything, and there were security cameras everywhere. Matter of fact, the more all these leftists are lying about the invasion and what went down, it's driving more people to actually research this shit, right? And there are videos out there, like, for instance, Hamas actually firing a rocket launcher into an innocent car. Right there. People don't know what was going on, just trying to get on along with their day. These people come in and then they're being RPG'd. Why aren't you doing this to Israeli military? Why are you doing this to people? What did the people got to do with this? So the more you idiots out there are saying, no, we got from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, we got to be free. It's like, hey, hang on. You got to free them from Hamas first before we start having talks about a solution here. All right, because these people willingly went in and attacked civilians. Okay, so that's what's happening. We can see that, and the more you people on the far left don't want to acknowledge it, you're not being honest. And when people are not seeing you being honest, guess what? They start to flee, like this guy's doing.
Siding with these pro-Hamas people, they are refusing to call out Hamas. They're coming out in full force with these Islamists who are borderline jihadis. For example, a former Hamas chief has organized this Armistice Day protest that is akin to Zawahiri holding anti-Iraq war rally in London. Would we have ever allowed that? 20 years ago, that would never have happened. But in 2023, a former Hamas chief is organizing an anti-Jew, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas rally in London. And you're going to see a lot of these far-left, blue-haired, queer for Palestine, chickens for KF.
This shit right here would never fly in Nigeria. I'm going to guarantee you that right now. Again, listen, Listen, chat. I'm telling you right now, I'm pro freedom. Everyone doing whatever it is they want to do, and no one infringing on their rights and oppressing them because of who they are, right? I'm okay with this in a free country. If this is what they want to do, I'm okay with it, right? And that's why I call out a lot of these red pillars who do this type of shit, because it's like, dude, you're in a free country. Let them do what they're doing as long as they're not bothering you. It is what the fuck it is, right? So I'm pro. But I'm going to tell you this. The country I came from, this will never fly. You're not marching down the street looking like that. All right. They will throw you off of a building. And that's what these leftists don't understand. Y'all are thinking that everyone is craving the American, freedom for everyone type of culture that we have here, right? The First Amendment and, the right, Second Amendment and all that stuff, the protest and have your voice be heard. It's not like that in other countries. We don't think the same as you do. That's why we have to assimilate. And that's why I call out even everyone that, like other immigrants up here, especially some of the ones that come up here and then try to tell American blacks what to do, right? Oh, why are y'all not doing that? It's like, hey, you don't have to come down. Calm down. You're coming in from Africa or wherever country you are from there, okay? You don't have the right to really talk about the Black American struggle because that's not your struggle. So again, you have to tell people these things and you have to do certain things to assimilate to the dominant culture. I'm not going to bring aspects of I might bring positive aspects of my culture, but I'm never going to bring the negative aspects of that shit over here and all that stuff, because like, why? There's a reason why I left that country in the first place, so I can engage in positive cultures that are better, right? Because not every country believes in freedom of rights for everyone, and they don't get this, right? Some of the smarter people on the left, they understand this, and they're looking at this and saying, you guys are stupid. Yes, we can protest against the violence on the Palestinian people, but to ignore the reality of what's going on here, it's just pure, it's just pure it's just ignorance, bro. Oh my God. Like, you gotta just look at this shit. You're like, what the fuck? Hey, nigga, hold up. Come here. Come a little closer. Come here. There's something called reality. And if you were in these countries, I'm gonna tell you this: if you were walking down the street and these people invaded, you're the first one to go. Guaranteed. Yeah, you don't believe me? Watch. Just look. It's out there. Okay, we can all be pro-life. We're all pro-life. We want people to live, right? Unlike some of these people on the right, far right, where they're like, oh, pro-right, but abortions. Can do that, right? We're all pro-life, but we got to be smart about it at the same time. Okay, we got to understand who the fuck we're dealing with, and we got to understand that if we do things to fuck up a movement, we might just have these people's voices just be drowned out by a new type of hate. Mainly people who are leaving the left, going over to the right, and the empowered right, basically countering the movement. Because I'm gonna tell you what, when Biden leaves office and Trump gets in, which it's probably looking likely, okay, they're gonna give money to Israel, because the right, they're on that Christian shit, right? They're on that, I pray to the Lord, the evangelicals, they're a big base in America, so they want to see more support for Israel, and that's where a lot of the budget's gonna go. You're not helping the Palestinian people when you're doing stuff like this, and you're not educated, okay? Because at the end of the day, you need someone who represents you in office to implement your wishes. I don't think Biden is doing that either. I think Biden is giving money over to Israel. So I mean, again, like, do you politicians even work for y'all? Like, y'all are protesting out here. What's gonna come of it? President Biden is supposed to be for you, giving money to Israel. Trump's gonna come in, give even more money to Israel. Do you think going out and beating people up is gonna help the cause? No, because now they're just calling you Antifa of the pro-Palestinian. You got to be careful, man. Y'all are just fucking shit up. And I swear, the reason why I'm pissed at this, because it's these same woke tards that fucked up the BLM movement, especially the George Floyd situation, bro. Like, obviously, BLM, I'm not talking about the corporate BLM. I'm talking about the actual BLM, the people who are on the ground, who are actually doing grassroots movement, not the corporate BLM. If you talk to actual Black folks, they'll tell you there's two different BLMs. They don't know what's going on over the corporate side, but they know the grassroots movements, right? And even people on the right, they don't understand that. They think BLM is just one big thing. It's not. That's why some of them, you see that they use that as an excuse to, shit on Black movements, legitimate Black movements, and toss it aside as a BLM offshoot because of wokeism. You can't let movements stand on their own. That's all y'all need to do. Stop interlocking other movements into one thing because you fuck it up for everybody.
See, blacks for KKK group of people with them. I mean, it doesn't get more ridiculous than that. So people like us who've been like, okay, well, I can't go to the Tommy Robinson crowd. Now, I'm sorry, I have no choice. Now, I am an atheist. To me, all religions are man-made. They're fairy tales, whether that's Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, or Islam. But I also understand not all of these religions are equally dangerous. They might be equally fictitious, but they're not all equally dangerous. Why? How do I know this? It's because Hindus haven't called for my head. Christians haven't called for my head. Jews haven't called for my head. But there is one group of people that constantly calls for my head. Muslims.
The capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt. And we're
Again, I don't know who this guy is. He looks he like he about to fall asleep. What's wrong with bro? Okay, not all Muslims think like this idiot here. Okay, I just want to make that be clear because I know people are gonna say, "See, I told you this is what they." Okay, I know it's not like that, bro. I don't know what this dude is talking about. He look like Hey, wake up. Sleeps, you all right? Wake up, buddy. You like about to sleep. What you doing? Hey, but I don't know what he's talking about. But at least the Muslims I talk to, they don't sit there and say, yeah, we believe in death to people who want to be gay or who want to live a certain religion or something like that. It doesn't happen. Only in these extreme conservative areas that you see that kind of idea kind of spread out and take hold. But yeah, this dude's crazy.
proud of that.
I don't know about other ex-Muslims and atheists who are still turning a blind eye to this threat of Islamism. I don't know about them, but I don't have a dhimmi fetish. I don't want to be humiliated or conquered by these people. If the left hadn't abandoned us, I would have been their ally. But no, the left constantly keeps on getting in bed with these far-right Islamist fascists. So who's going to stop the rise of this Islamic fascism? Sure as hell not going to be the far left. The far right, yeah, I don't want to go there, but the conservatives. Look at Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak has been sending his message to the Met police chief that you have to do something about it. Obviously, the Met is an independent body, which I genuinely believe is heavily infiltrated by Islamic fascists as well, because they've been defending these pro-Hamas, ISIS flag-waving people. They've been saying that jihad is an internal struggle.
What is the solution to liberate people in the concentration camps called Palestine? Jihad! What is the solution?
This is crazy. Like, if you're an American, okay, you seeing this happen in a Western country, you should be worried. Right? No, jihad is not the right way to free Palestine. Matter of fact, you need to go the opposite way, right? By getting rid of Hamas, who's perpetuating jihad. Okay, that's an extreme. Extremes have no place in a modern society. I'm just going to be real. If you're an extremist, I don't care what religion, you have no place in a secular world because you just serve as a point of just chaos. All right, just look at a bunch of these people. This guy didn't even take his work shirt off. Look at him. He just came straight from work. Stand attention, sir. What's my jihadi notes today? It's like, nigga, sit your ass down. You don't even know what the fuck you're chanting. People are getting terrified seeing this shit happen all across the Western world, bro. Okay, these liberals are literally turning into mini Hitlers, dog. And it's so crazy because they don't realize a lot of the things that they're saying is anti-Semitic. And you know what's ironic? A few years back, these would be the same people. If someone like Nick Fuentes said the same thing that they're saying now, they would brand as an anti-Semite, tar and feather him, and kick him out of town. Oh, wait, they actually did it. And now here they are chanting and saying things, especially when it comes to the Zionist talking points. They're agreeing with Nick Fuentes. We are witnessing, folks, the official marriage between the far left and the insane far right like Nick Fuentes come together. And we see this. You know what this reminds me of? I'm going to play this one more time, right? But you know what this reminds me of? Y'all remember that episode of South Park where Eric Cartman was marching through the streets with them people, and they were chanting these things. But the people didn't know what they were chanting. I'm gonna try to find that video because it makes so much sense. South Park predicted this shit.
People in the concentration camp from Palestine. Jihad! What is the solution? Jihad!
I know what jihad means. I know it also means in a struggle, but the way these pro-Hamas people, the way they've been using the word jihad, it means violent jihad. But they say now our...
Hold on. I gotta play this one more time. I show you what this reminds me of real quick.
In the concentration camp from Palestine. Jihad! What is the solution? Jihad!
I know what...
Hold up. You know what that reminds me of? Hold up, chat.
March! Es ist Zeit für Marsch! Es ist Zeit
Yo, chat. Tell me this shit don't remind you of that. These are just normal people. These are normal people screaming for jihad. If this was like, oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I can't believe this. I can't believe this, dude. This is getting crazy, especially when we're seeing the attacks on these people who aren't even Jews. All right, the airport in Dagestan. All right, that's in Russia. Ironic, Mr. Putin. Hey, Mr. Putin, when people are saying that you might be yourself a Nazi, you were saying no, it's the Jewish president in Ukraine that's a Nazi. Yeah. What about Dagestan? The airport in Dagestan, bro. You had a bunch of Muslims surrounding the airport, literally hunting for Jews. This is where the world has gotten to. And yet you're starting a war with Ukraine, claiming that the Ukrainians are Nazis. The fuck is going on in your fucking household, bro? This is what's scaring the rest of America as we head towards World War III, which is inevitable. I love it, right? As we head towards that junction, okay? We are now seeing the rise of just extremism all across the world, right? And what's surprising now is just it wasn't in the Eastern world or African nations at all. We're seeing this in perfectly, supposedly normal Western countries. Whoa! Hey, I don't know what's happening, bro, but we're heading to some tough times. Let's continue.
I know what jihad means. I know it also means in a struggle, but the way these pro-Hamas people, the way they've been using the word jihad, it means violent jihad. But they say now our experts have suggested that it means in a struggle. So if the Met can't see this, then obviously it is taking advice from jihadists. But for the first time, we have a conservative Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who happens to be a brown man, because if he was a white man, he would not have been able to say the kind of things that he's been saying now. So we need him. I like this guy. I like Rishi Sunak. I'm not a Brit, so I don't know the internal politics. I don't know how he's doing on the economic front. I don't know that. But socially, he is standing up for British values like no other PM in the recent memory has stood up. This Saturday, the 11th of November, that's going to be the litmus test. We're going to find out how many Brits are going to come out, or they're still worried about being labeled as far right-wing nut jobs. I think this is where we went wrong. Anyone who stood up to Islamic fascism, including us, everyone labeled them far-right bigots. But labeling everyone who says the same things about Islam or Islamism or jihadism as I do is akin to far-right bigotry.
That's when you start to lose people, honestly, right? It's crazy because y'all cannot do that, right? There is a distinction between Hamas and the Palestinian people. Hamas is a legit terror organization. You can trace it to terrorists, right? Remember what I told you about that little country called Qatar? Yeah, they are a hub for terrorists. Matter of fact, the leaders of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are being housed in luxury hotels in Qatar, okay? Same as Hamas and Hezbollah. The leaders of those countries, those terrorist groups are in Qatar being fed, being taken care of like kings in those countries, right? Meanwhile, there are a bunch of young Palestinian boys who are being tricked into war that they don't really even understand that they're doing, right? And as you watch some of these interviews that come out with these captured jihadists, right, you're seeing that a lot of them, they're now realizing that they felt duped, right? While their leaders are sitting there in luxury hotels telling you to go fight, right? It's the same thing all over again. When the rich old wage war, it's the poor and young who die. And that's very, very unfortunate, right? That we're seeing this happen, yet the left continue to deny this. How do you expect to save people if you're unwilling to acknowledge this fact? These people are terrorists. It just is what it is, okay? So when people are calling out and there's facts to prove it, you can't just label them as like some kind of what do you call it, pro-genocidal, maniac or fascist or whatnot, because this is where you lose people. I like to read. Okay, I may not look like it or sound like it or anything like that, but I like to read and I like to research certain things, right? That even outside of certain topics that I cover. And there are other sides where I like, even like this channel where we, just do, fun, light stuff. Like, not this. It gets funnier later. Trust me. But listen, you can't sit there and try to tell me that Hamas is not a terrorist group and try to completely gloss over that, okay? Because then now you lose me, and especially someone who's just a rational person, and there are millions of me out there. I'm not the only one. You lose us, because then we're sitting there saying, yeah, you guys are complete tards. They're terrorists. If you're not willing to find that out for yourselves, we're going to go join the other party. I'm not. I'm going to stay where I'm at. But at least the other people who are trading one ideology for another, right? They're going to go join the other side who's not for doing what Hamas is doing, okay? You lefties need to understand there is a difference. If there wasn't an initial attack on the 7th, there wouldn't be this invasion that we're seeing right now and this massive amounts of deaths we're seeing right now. You leftists that continue to ignore that, you are digging your own grave.
And by that logic, I'm a far-right bigot as well. How can I, as a brown man, allowed to say that? But when Tommy Robinson says it, he becomes a far-right white supremacist bigot. Obviously, that's not the case. I have a feeling that the masses are about to wake up because Muslims have played their hand way too soon. They have scared the West. They have scared the silent majority that if these people...
That's us, by the way. Like most of us. I'm a centrist. I'm one of those silent majorities. I just talk shit online. And, I got a little channel. Who's hearing me, right? But still, listen, we're speaking up now. I wouldn't even normally, Destiny's my dog, okay? You don't know that, but he's my dog, right? I'm fucking with him. So it just got me seeing people, go in on Destiny, especially him, on his new arc, debating a lot of these crazy lefty weirdos, right? And just seeing them just turn on him, it's just like, yo, we got to speak up now because y'all are being just dumb. And on top of that, people who also like me, who are worried about this massive takeover of the far right, okay, which will never become, and I want people to be more centered. I'm speaking out against this because I'm seeing that we're losing our way. Where's the research? Some of you guys are in Ivy League schools. Ivy League schools, god damn it. You guys are, some of them, you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get in. Your pops probably have a trust fund over there, right? You go there, and what are they teaching you? I was in AP history high school, and I knew about the Middle Eastern regions, World War I, and how the Ottoman Empire lost it because they joined the wrong side. That's high school. What colleges are y'all going to that are, and then you gotta ask this question, are these Ivy League schools even worth it? Like, all y'all are trying to get, hey, St. the Center. Hey, Mr. John Hopkins and UC Berkeley. Was it worth it? Because you're still as stupid as some of these other kids I'm seeing coming out of these fancy Ivy League schools, right? Just go to a community college. You'll probably learn some practical, like plumbing or being an electrician, or I would say coding or networking, things like that, right? You can learn all those stuff. They pay big money. I'm a big proponent of it. Check out my other channel if you want to learn how to code Python. Okay, I got a full video basically showing you how to do that top to bottom. We actually built an app on that, so if you guys want to learn how to build your own app, go over there right there and check it out. Okay. Yeah, I get into things. But let's go ahead and continue. Y'all are just losing people.
Stay unchallenged and unopposed, then we're not just going to have anti-Semitism on our hand, like this guy says that it is a part of our faith to be an anti-Semite.
But there will come a time, ya Muslim. There will come a time. And we relate the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Muslims and the Jews, they will fight. And there is coming a time where there will be fighting. And he told us, alayhi salatu wassalam, that the inanimate objects will speak on those days. The inanimate object will speak And this is not anti-Semitic. This is a part of our tradition.
or call for the blood of
See,
Jews.
this is why I think religions are stupid. Like it'll get you believing in angels and talking trees that are pointing at people. What the fuck is it? What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's saying the true inanimate objects are going to be speaking on what?
Speak on those. Alayhi salatu wassalam. That the inanimate objects will speak on those days. The inanimate object will speak. And this is not anti-Semitic. This is a part of our tradition.
Or call for the blood.
I don't get it. I don't get it, bro. I see. This is why I left the church a long time ago, because like religions got crazy to me, right? I listen, and nothing against y'all who are religious or anything like that, but sometimes I remember I was sitting in church and looking at these people. We stand up, we sit down, we kneel down, we stand up, we sit down. The pastor's talking, and he's preaching, everybody's just looking. I'm like, is what he's even saying? Is he even making sense? Maybe I'm not listening. Maybe I'm not. That's why I stopped going, right? But like again, I'm just like, how y'all? Y'all getting this, or is it just me? Okay, I'm just gonna chill here. But again, like it's just someone. But here's the thing: it just shows you how people can take certain things to certain extremes and make it mean something completely different, right? And that's what we're seeing here. That's why, hey, listen, bro, choose secularism if you have the chance. Trust me.
Of Jews like this.
We'll find some Jews there. You want the Zionists? You want the blood?
Listen to this.
Nice anti-Jewish edition.
But the very British values that you fought
Look at
for
this.
are going to be gone.
Time out.
History.
Time out.
You want the Zionists? You want the blood? This is the nice anti-Jewish edition.
Bruh, y'all are Hitler. No. No. I can see why people on the left who still got a brain are running. After seeing this, and there are more of this, yo, y'all are Hitler. You have become what you pretend to protect against, okay? You are fascist. People who are marching in the street. I don't get this. I don't get this. This can't be Palestinian movements at all, bro. This can't be. Y'all are just reviving the Third Reich. That's what I'm saying. Y'all hold up. Let me get this. Let me get this video back up. Let me get this video back up.
Merch! Es ist Zeit für Reich! Wir müssen die Juden aufhalten! Es ist Zeit für Reich! Wir müssen die Juden aufhalten!
All because of a misunderstanding, y'all are out here hunting for Jews. This guy says we want their blood. You're fucked. You're fucked up. You people are weird. You people are weird. Don't associate me with anybody. Nah, if you think like this, you're weirdo. You are exactly what you pretend to fight against. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Okay, you're not part of any rational movements. You have gone off the rails. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Super Plantano Man. Shout out to you for the $5 super chat. Super Plantano Man says, how do you like Destiny when he has platformed Nick Fuentes and had lunch with him? The far left never would have even think of that. Yeah, but what we see of the far left now is they're spewing the exact same talking points as Nick Fuentes, right? See, listen, we don't have, again, this has always been my opinion about this, especially since the Pearl situation. No one has a problem with you platforming Nick Fuentes. I'm not going to sit there and tell you how to control your goddamn platform. You do what you do. I'm not going to platform him. Why? Because I have principles. He's a fucking racist, right? And I could criticize other people who do platform him, right? And that's the thing, right? But here's the thing. I'm not against you platforming them. It's, are you going to have those conversations with them? And then after that, it is what it is. Y'all can be friends, or y'all can be, I don't care. It could be cordial. It don't matter to me, right? Are you asking the right questions? And that was the difference between him going on, who's the other racist that was part of the other alt-right movement? Richard Spencer, right? When he went on Jay Black's channel and they did an interview, I was okay with that because Jay Black is actually he's educated. He knows how to ask certain questions, and you can literally see in people for who they are and expose themselves. On the other hand, you have someone like Pearl who are having a conversation with Nick Fuentes, okay, and just sitting there agreeing. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the Jews and the Holocaust. It was completely what did she say? They agreed on the Holocaust being an embellishment. A couple months ago, we were criticizing Pearl for laughing with Nick Fuentes for saying the Holocaust was an embellishment. Now, what we're seeing in today's society, where a bunch of people on the far left are now using that same sentiment against people who actually went through that shit, or at least their ancestors did. And you're gonna sit there and tell me these people have not cahoots together, right? Again, I don't know. It's just sad to see where things are going, because now you're like, damn, bro, I just thing up is down and down is up. We're in a state of utter confusion. It's truly the end of times.
This is the ninth anti-Jewish edition.
But the very British values that you fought
Oh,
for.
I forgot to say one more thing. Nick Fuentes absolutely hates Destiny, and that's why I'm okay with that, right? Because y'all remember that video I covered where when Abba and Destiny went on there with Gideon, and I forgot what his name is. Is it Young God? I forgot his name, but when they went on there and they were debating Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes got exposed. Destiny was the main one that exposed the fact that Nick Fuentes got canceled, and the reason why he got canceled, because he said a white girl fucking a black guy is akin to a what do you call it? A white girl essentially fucking a dog. So he basically equivalized an interracial sexual relationship as an equivalent to a white woman having sex with an animal. He's calling black folks animals, right? So he got canceled for that. Destiny exposed Nick Fuentes for that. Nick Fuentes, before, when he was on with Sneeko, he was able to get around with Sneeko, and Sneeko not being knowledgeable, because Sneeko is an example of these far leftists we see here in their brain, right? He wasn't knowledgeable about Nick Fuentes and why he got canceled. So Nick Fuentes was able to, like, sugarcoat the reason. Oh, yeah, I got canceled because this reporter was a bitch and she really hated me and she was coming for me because she didn't really like what I said, right? But then Destiny was like, no. What did you actually say? I can have my Discord right now, pull up the goddamn audio. You got canceled, bro, because you said some dirty shit, right? And Nick, you saw he was sweating, and we were laughing. We covered that in the show. Listen, if you push a racist like that and to expose themselves, this is the kind of dialogue I like, right? Abba, I fuck with Abba heavy. He also had conversation with Nick Fuentes and exposed him. Now, he was a little bit more on the chess move side, because Abba's sharp. He knows how to, talk around things to get you to bring you to a certain point. He's a sharp guy, right? So those are, like, if you know how to expose these people, have a conversation with them. Me personally, no. I don't. The fuck I need to do that for? Stay over there. But no, let them talk. As long as you can handle it, go ahead. Say your thing. Do what you got to do. But I hope that answers your question. But I got to know. I don't know if, like, Destiny is super cool with Nick Fuentes, though. I think they got some bad blood. Nick Fuentes genuinely hates Destiny.
Are going to be gone. History. That's it. That's the threat we're dealing with. And there is no one standing in their way. Everyone is either a pussy or is scared of being labeled a far-right bigot. But then people like me worry about this question, that Harris, okay, if people like Tommy Robinson, even though he might not be a far-right bigot himself, but people who do gravitate towards him are far-right bigots, what if after defeating Islamism, they come after other brown people like us? Well, I don't think that's going to happen, because our institutes are way too strong for a fascist ideology to take over. But let's just...
Kai Mating. She said slavery was an embellishment after Nick Fuentes said the Holocaust was an embellishment, right? But I was going in on the Nick Fuentes side, K. Maiden. You got to understand that, right? So it's not rhetoric. It's true. When Nick Fuentes and Pearl were talking in that conversation they were having, the sentence that came before Pearl's slavery embellishment comments was Nick Fuentes saying that the Holocaust was just an embellishment, and she was agreeing with him. So yeah, that happened. Like, I don't know if the interview's out there, but it actually happened, dude.
Say that does end up happening 10, 20 years later down the track. Well, then that's a later battle to be fought. Right now, the most immediate danger is the spread of Islamism and the far left fascism.
Oh shit, it sleeps. It sleeps. Look at him. It sleeps. What's good, sleeps?
Is the spread of Islamism and the far left fascists being in bed with them. The far left is in bed with people who literally want to behead me. People who are on Tommy Robinson's side, they have never called for my death. They have never threatened me. No Christian or Jew has ever threatened me. Who has threatened me? Who has threatened Jews? These Islamists, these jihadists. Right now, we have to be concerned with the rise of Islamic fascism, and it's coming. Whether they are first or second generation Muslims, whether they are hardcore Muslims or the moderate Muslims, they don't care about British values. They don't care about British heroes. They don't care about British culture. As a former Muslim, I know the way we are brainwashed.
Oh shit! This nigga was a Muslim. Oh, this is interesting. Huh?
From our childhood, our first allegiance is to Islam and Muslim Ummah, Muslim community.
This without America.
So no America first for you?
No.
Are you an American?
Yes.
Yo. What? What a dumbass! What the fuck did you say? Hold
Is
up.
to Islam
Hold
and Muslim
on.
Ummah,
What? That's
Muslim
no.
community.
Come on now.
This without America.
So no America first for you?
No.
Are you an American?
Yes.
I'm sorry, bro. That's too funny. That's too funny. Hey, yeah, nah. You need help, honey. I think you need help. Are you an American? Yeah. Huh? Like, how are you? That's huh? Still weird. Yo, that's crazy.
And you don't want to put America first?
No.
That's what it is. And that's why you see even these moderate lipstick Muslims celebrating Hamas's attacks on Israeli civilians on the 7th of October. Look at this. These were the tweets of these moderate Muslims on the 7th of October. As we were seeing those horrific videos of Israeli civilians getting butchered, these guys were celebrating them. And I think the conservatives should forget about this pronoun and anti-vax or this other contrarian conspiracy theories bullshit. Get out of that. That's a distraction. You think these people are going to threaten your freedom? Look at them. Freaking hideous idiots. They don't want to do anything. They don't challenge. They don't pose a challenge. They are just useful idiots for the Islamist fascists. That's it. That's what they are. So don't worry about the pronouns, vaccine. That's all gone. The Islamism, that is a real threat. That is what you need to watch out for. And I think the litmus test is going to be the 11th of November. And then if you are an ex-Muslim or an atheist.
Listen, I think listen. I think what's going to end up happening is the right is going to focus on this, right? That's that's kind of what I'm worried about and not worried about at the same time, right? They are going to focus on this. Somebody's going to be smart enough to shift from the pronoun argument that these leftists are making, because they're not even making that. They're not even on that grift no more. They're in the pro-Palestinian movement now. They're going to shift from that to that real easy. All right. Especially as more and more of these Hamas GoPro videos of their invasion are being released, and they're being released all over the place. People are now starting to see them. And listen, the fog of war, you can see it slowly starting to lift. It's starting to lift a little bit, and you're seeing more information out there, and you're seeing a lot of these atrocities that occurred with Hamas. Like, say what you want to say, like, this shit is horrendous. And when you have a bunch of guys who aren't educated on a topic, you're going in and you're saying, yeah, jihad is what we want. You're crazy, because you got to understand, this is what you're fighting for, my dude. These are innocent civilians. This is Hamas. This is what you're screaming at. Look at this. Is it okay? Is it okay to justify innocent people dying like this here because of the situation with Hamas and the Gaza? Is this really worth it? More and more of these videos are gonna come out. You leftists are isolating yourselves. You don't realize this, but you are. They're releasing this stuff, and now people are starting to realize that, yeah, we were chanting and marching and protesting for terrorists all along. And then you couple that with footages that I played earlier of innocent bystanders getting their ass beat. Guys yelling Hezbollah. If you're pro-Palestinian movement in the West, the last thing you want is a Palestinian flag directly next to you beating up a guy that got nothing to do with it. That's the last thing you're gonna want, because as more and more of this comes out, you're losing people. All right. And when the right eventually takes over, which they will, because this shit right here is going to scare the crap out of them. Right here. They're going to see BLM, George Floyd all over again. And they're going to be like, hey, y'all need to be talking about these lefties who are over here marching and they don't know what they're marching about. Right? And it's like BLM all over again. And you know, some of these guys, they got PTSD from that shit. And I'm letting y'all know, all right, it wasn't us. It was the corporate side and some of these wokeists. Again, woke people, which are bored, possibly rich lefties who have nothing to do, okay, but to cause chaos. They're the ones who, you know, because they have nothing to do, jump into these movements without knowing what they're doing and make it even more extreme. Now, I'm not saying that there are other people out there who don't know what they're doing and they're actually going in and egging this on, right? Because we know that. We saw that little rally that dude was saying, jihad, jihad, we got to do that. It's like, huh? What the hell? Right? And there are even some marches that people say, oh, you know, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's like, okay, can you explain what that means? Right? They even asked, that somebody was doing that with Destiny, right? He was like, what does that mean? Right? Because you're not for the genocide of the Jewish people. Okay, fine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Do you understand what that means? Most of them don't know. What river are we talking about? They don't know. What sea are we talking about? They don't know, right? The Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. And they don't even often realize what's in between that. A country called Israel. So when you're saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, where the Jews gonna go, right? And some of these leftists, because they think that a lot of these people on the other side of the planet think the way we do. I'm letting you know, someone from Nigeria who does not, who the people down there do not, especially on the northern parts of it, they don't think like you at all. They don't think like you at all, okay? But sometimes people on the left have this maggot in their brain to make it seem as though that everyone shares the same liberal values as the West. They don't, okay? What do you think is going to happen? Let's say Hamas gets their way, right? And Palestine is free, right? It's not longer Israel, the West Bank and Gaza, it reunites and Israel's gone. What do you think is going to happen to the Jewish population there? Do you think the Jewish population is going to thrive? What do you think is going to happen to the Christian population there? Do you think the Christian population is going to thrive? No. What do you think about atheists who are there? Do you think that's going to thrive? No. Why? Because we already see evidence of this even around the Middle East. Look at Jordan. Look at Lebanon. Look at Saudi Arabia. Look at Iran. Right? Look at all these Middle Eastern countries. At one point, there were Jews, there were Christians, and there were people of various different beliefs. Now they're no longer there. Islam, all right, and Muslim is all there is. The same thing that's happening in Nigeria, right, where we have Sharia law and now everything is now falling under very strict control. That's why you're seeing a lot of these people who are forming groups and they're like going in and combating a lot of these jihadist groups because they're tired of being killed. Some people just don't like to be under a jihadist rule or a what do you call it, Islamic rule, which is Sharia. No, people don't like that, most people, right? All right. And right now, the only country that does that in the Middle East is Israel. Israel is the only country to have people who are Muslims in high positions of power. You're not going to see that in Gaza. You're not going to see that in the West Bank. You're not going to see that in Lebanon. You're not going to see that in Jordan. You're not going to see that in Egypt. You're not going to see that in Iran. You're not going to see that in Iraq. You're not going to see that in any one of these Middle Eastern countries. You're not going to see that because some cultures don't think like you dumb lefties. And it's ignorant to sit there and grandstand above other people like you know what the fuck you're talking about, but you're proving you're just a tard. That's all you're doing, okay? Let me show y'all something for you bozos that don't understand who are on the left, okay? This is Google Earth, okay? And what do we have on the screen? We have a map of the Middle East. Look at all of that. You got Iran and you got Egypt, you got Jordan, you got Syria, Lebanon, all right? Most people who are in universities that are Ivy League schools can't even point to this on a map. Where's Israel? I don't know. What river are they talking about? I don't know. Hey, it's the Jordan River right the fuck over here, okay? So you got the Jordan River, you got the sea, and you got Jerusalem, and you got Israel right in the middle, right? Listen, bro. If they have their way, especially when we see shit like this, you think the Jews are going to be okay? No. So you're trading one extreme ideology for another without knowing what the fuck you're talking about. And you're surprised people are not fucking with you in droves. Now, without further ado, let's go to this far left journalist who's I really think he's making it worse for not only pro-Palestinian movements, but for just everyone who's generally confused about the situation. And that's essentially where we are. Because you have people who don't really know about what's going on, and they're genuinely confused on what's happening. So, of course, when they hear genocide, open air prison, which are the talking points that are being repeated constantly, because, again, these tards don't know anything else. Open air prison, genocide, apartheid, this and that. It's like, if I was given a test in university, right, or even in high school, let me just say that. Let's say I was on an ACT test or whatever the fuck it is, right, and people were asking me, "Hey, you know what? What if?" Oh, what happened here? Hold up, my bad, guys. StreamYard's giving me a little notification here. I don't know what is going on. You know, when I see that, I don't know if they're gonna block this stream because that happened. What happened before? Hold up, real freaking quick. My bad, guys. Hold up, real quick. Let me take this off. I can't be that though, right? What is it? What is it flagging? Chat, give me 1 minute. What is it flagging? So YouTube has this content ID. Y'all want to know why my streams get blocked like in the middle of it? It's because of this content ID, and it tells you throughout the dashboard there, right? It turns yellow and it says, "Hey, warning, something content ID picked up." And it was just streaming that just for a second here. And usually when it does that, the stream goes blank, at least to you guys. You guys see this blank. So yeah, I don't know. But anyways, what was I at? Okay, so imagine if I take an ACT test, right? And they put on the paper, "Hey, you know what? Listen, where is if we're looking at this whole Hamas situation, right? If you were, how would I even word this question? I don't even know how to word it without even just sounded crazy. You know what? Let me just get back that. We'll get into it in just a second here. But let me jump to this video because part of where I was getting at with that question is there are people who are out here professing like they're professionals on this issue, right? And again, I have to ask, what kind of testing and studying have you been doing to even consider yourself a professional? You got people out here that are calling themselves journalists, right? Like this guy that Destiny ended up debating who called himself a journalist, and he was just talking about platitudes and cliche, all these talking points, right? The open air prison, this and that, right? Again, okay, I'm just gonna ask a question. Fuck it, I'm just gonna ask a question. All right, if I took a test, okay, you know these dumb liberals that are saying apartheid. Now, it's not saying that there isn't a certain blockade going on because there is. Israel is blockading Gaza. It is what it is. They're not. They're controlling heavily who goes in and out. But if I was given a test on the ACT, what is apartheid? And if someone can say, if the test would say, what would be the best example of apartheid, right? The definition of apartheid. And one on the multiple choice, you had to choose between South Africa and the situation going on in Israel. What would you scribble on a Scantron? Would you scribble South Africa as a real example of apartheid? Or would you scribble in what's going on in Israel right now? And some of these journalists that pretend that because they're called journalists, it somehow gives them a leg up over normal people who have common sense. They would probably scribble, yeah, you know, there's stuff going on in Gaza. That's definitely apartheid. You know, I can see what South Africa was going through. No. And you would fail that test. You would definitely get it wrong. You will not pass. Go ahead and move on. Exit stage left. You know why? Because what's going on right now is not apartheid. It's not. Hamas is in full control of the government, where in South Africa, you had a small group of white folks, okay, who dominated the elections, dominated the land, dominated the economy. They dominated everything in an area where there was people who looked different that weren't white, South Africans, okay? So that's just even a small example of it. What's going on in Israel, you have a blockade. Okay, there's no intertwined economics or anything like that. Hamas is fully running the government there. They're getting resources and multiple billions of dollars of foreign aid and money from Qatar. And some of that money from Qatar actually comes through Israel because the U.S. pays Israel as well, right? So that's why I think Netanyahu's campaign is going to be done after this, right? Because people are going to start digging. Why are you giving Qatar all this money? Because now they're turning around and giving all that money to Hezbollah and Hamas, right? But it's not apartheid if the people are getting billions of dollars in foreign aid. They're getting funding from massively wealthy oil Middle Eastern countries, that Shia countries that support their cause, right? Where is all these money going? It shows you they're not taking care of the people down there. If you leftists actually care for human rights, you would hold Hamas accountable for not giving that money to the people, rebuilding their infrastructures. Instead, there's more evidence coming out that these motherfuckers were making bombs and missiles with that. Y'all, how could y'all in good faith know your people are dying? All right. And then knowing there's billions of dollars coming to you, take that money and build rockets. I don't get it. Like, are you stupid or what? Right? And then y'all remember that video we played when we were going in on Hassan, right? When Hassan didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, where the Hamas leader literally came out and said, "We are not responsible for Gaza citizens." Okay, the Gaza citizens and the UN, which I think is a useless organization at this point, they're supposed to be responsible for the Gaza people. It's like, wait a minute, what? Because the guy literally admitted he was taking the money and building the tunnels with it and getting weapons with it. And the people are asking, well, then if you guys are doing this, who's going to protect your people? Why don't you have bomb shelters for the bombs so the people can go into, knowing fully well that they can have some level of protection? The guy straight up said it's not his job. Nigga, you run the government. This ain't apartheid. When y'all are sitting there calling shit that it ain't, you lose people. And this is what this so-called journalist who thinks he knows what he's doing decide to do when he decided to go up against Destiny because he thought he knew something, right? Again, he's a journalist that went to Palestine, right? At least the Gaza Strip, and did a little documentary that barely got any views, okay? So he's priding himself on that, but he decided, I'm going to challenge Destiny because I think Destiny has it all wrong when it comes to this research, right? And then when he realized that he bit off a little bit more than he could chew, just like everyone does when they debate Destiny. What ended up happening was hilarious because the mask came off, and this guy just went insane. We're about to find out. Let's play the video.
I have an outlet I've recently founded called Uncaptured Media. That's what this like toxic sludge alphabet soup behind me is. I made a documentary called Killing Gaza that when I was in Gaza for 7 months between 2014 and 2017, including during the last couple weeks of the 51-day war in the summer of 2014, where I was under Israeli bombs and all kinds of things. So yeah, that became the documentary Killing Gaza. You can watch on my channel Uncaptured Media for free, or if you want to pay $5, you can go to killinggaza.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My position is, well, I'm an anti-Zionist, and I'm a full proponent of one democratic state from the river to the sea. That's it.
Again, more just talking point. The fact that he said that, I started laughing that he decided to call himself a journalist. I'm like, huh? What? Okay, Mr. Journalist. Let's continue.
Gotcha. Okay, just like I guess a couple of questions I'm kind of curious about. If you say that you're advocating for a type of one-state solution, as part of that one-state solution, are you in favor of the unlimited right of return for Palestinians?
Yes, absolutely. That's enshrined in international law. I mean, you have millions of Palestinians living in refugee camps, displaced right around Israeli-controlled borders in Lebanon and Jordan and Syria, who have, who want to go back home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely.
Do you have any criticisms for those Arab states that intentionally refuse to allow citizenship or passports for any of those displaced Palestinians in order to maintain the conflict with Israel?
Keep this in mind. I raised this when I was criticizing Hassan, because Hassan was sitting there talking about, yeah, they're not helping the refugees. And I'm like, well, they're at war. That doesn't make any sense for them to do so. You're not going to start importing refugees to your country that you're at war with. Russia isn't doing that in massive numbers. I mean, that's crazy. You would expect them to do that, and they don't have the obligation to really do that. So again, that's crazy that people suggest that. But what people aren't really asking the question is, what about all these Arab countries that are encouraging the fighting to continue? Why aren't they taking some of these Palestinian refugees, right? And then you start to figure out the real issues, because a lot of the Palestinian refugees, not really passing the refugees themselves, but some of the people who are in the West Bank, because the West Bank is still governed by the Palestinian Authority, right? And at one point, the Gaza Strip was before Hamas took over, because they were working towards a peaceful solution. But, a certain Qatar country decided to disrupt that with their, ability to instill terrorism in these Middle Eastern countries. So that's what ended up happening, and it broke apart. Hamas took over the Gaza Strip, and then the PLO were dominating the West Bank. Now, the issue with the PLO is they were also in other Middle Eastern countries like Lebanon, I believe, and Jordan, and also Egypt, right? And essentially, the countries that they were in, they've attempted to orchestrate coups. Okay, again, this is a very radical government. And the reason why is because it's planned. A lot of the guys who are Hamas and Hezbollah, they're a planned entity, right? Their planned entity is spread Shia across the Middle East. That's what they're there to do. Okay, on the behalf of Iran, because Iran is heavily sponsoring them, and Qatar, who are the two major wealthy Shia countries in the Middle East. Okay, so Hezbollah are just an agent. They're a tool to go ahead and disrupt any kind of peace deal or normalization the rest of the Middle East is going to ever have with Israel, because then they see their chances as gone forever. So you got to understand that, but people don't. So it's just weird.
I mean, I wouldn't agree with that characterization that's why they...
Terry Key said, so y'all are saying that all the Palestinians need to exterminate it? And who said that? Who mentioned the extermination of Palestinian people? This is this kind of thinking that literally it gets people polarized. No one said that. No one said that at all. We're looking for a solution here. And the best solution is a two-state solution. One side is uncompromising, and one side now doesn't want to do it because Netanyahu doesn't want to do it, right? So again, who said anything about a genocide? Who said anything about killing the people? You got to get your shit in line. It's this kind of fucking radical thinking that doesn't get us anywhere, and people start to disregard your opinions as kind of tardish, which that was a tard comment, bro. I'm gonna just be real with you.
Don't provide citizenship for Palestinians, but I mean, Jordan does. For many Palestinians, it's the vast majority of Jordan's population is Palestinian. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't support most of those governments. I mean, I don't support the Jordanian monarchy or Lebanon's political system. I don't support any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
just as two quick things. So I think the Arab states, it was the Arab League's Resolution 1547, like explicitly denied issuing nationality to Palestinians, I think because it would hamper their territorial claims in Israel. And then for the second thing, for Jordan's population being largely Palestinian, I think that's because prior to 67, the 6-Day War, it's because the West Bank was owned by, called then Transjordan. And a lot of those Palestinians at that point in time were given dual citizenship. But I don't think Jordan issues dual citizenship anymore, or the process of getting it for a Palestinian is incredibly difficult. And there's a lot of fees attached to it as well. So it's effectively like blocked off from them. I only ask because I hear a lot of people talk about the Palestinian refugee issue, but a couple of the kind of strange things to me is that one, a Palestinian and their family can live for generations in some of these Arab states and never even have an opportunity to get like rights to citizenship. And then two, the idea that like the UN doesn't try to resettle any Palestinians ever because it's not part of the mandate to resettle them, just to maintain that conflict with Israel. Both of those things seem like pretty toxic to me. Like it's just basically using Palestinians as a tool to continue fighting with the Israeli country.
I mean, Jordan is paid huge amounts of money by the U.S. And it coordinates security with Israel, basically in order to prevent Palestinians from returning to their homeland. So, I mean, all of this, the fundamental contradiction or issue at hand is the fact that Israel expelled a whole bunch of people in order to, ethnically cleanse them in 47 and 48, once again in 67.
Ethnically cleanse is a strong word, bro, but they did boot them all out. Because when you're saying, when you're misinformed and saying things like ethnically cleanse, and then people go do the research and find out, oh yeah, they did shove them out, but I mean, they were also feeding them and doing all this stuff like that. And then giving them water and things like that, even after they got into the separated regions, right? They even continued to supply some of their necessary resources that the region needed. So that's not extermination. That's not ethnic cleansing. Okay. I don't, again, these terminology, and this guy's supposed to be a journalist of who, of what? I think he's saying all these talking points to kind of get people, especially on the far left, to take him seriously. But you sound like a dumbass, dog. Like, what? No serious person legitimately would take you seriously. And just because you call yourself a journalist, I wouldn't be proud of that these days.
In order to have an artificially engineered Jewish demographic majority, so people like me, I'm an American Jewish guy from Arizona, could show up in Tel Aviv and ask for a passport and get it after a few days, whereas someone, you know, whose grandmother was like, you know, raped in some village and, you know, fled to Lebanon or whatever, Syria, can't, and has to live in some, you know, some awful refugee camp ever since. I mean, that's the fundamental issue. Whatever the Arab states, their individual policies are, which I don't, you know, I'm not in support of. That's not the main issue. The main issue is, you know, what I just described.
Do you think that when I look for like solutions to this problem, do you think it's fair that Israeli citizens feel like if a one-state solution happens with an unlimited right of return, that there would be a whole bunch of basically anti-Jewish violence that would occur on the back of that?
No, I mean, I think, in fact, it's just the opposite. If there's not some kind of real solution where everyone's rights are honored, then that's when you're going to see a bunch of violence. That's when you're going to see an October 7th.
If Hamas gets their way, they're not going to give equal rights to everybody. Are you high? Equal rights to everybody. You're a journalist and you haven't even researched the region. Do women even have equal rights in some of those regions, bro? No, they don't. Like, again, now there are some certain elements of secularism in certain places, but it's not the overall culture, bro. Look at Iran right now. A bunch of the young generation are protesting en masse against the strict Islamic government because they're sick of it. Women right now, they're no longer wearing their hijab. They're doing that in protest, right? I think that's a big movement that's going on over there. There's a huge clash against these massive, overbearing, it's oppressive Islamic state because the younger generation who are actually living in those regions, you fucking journalist pretending douchebag, okay? They are suffering. They know that everyone doesn't have equal rights. The women aren't allowed to walk around wearing their hair free, right? They don't have those same rights. That's why they're protesting out there, okay? So there's certain pockets in these Middle Eastern countries that are sick of the strict Islamic state, okay? They want democracy, all right? They want secularism, especially because good kudos to American, you know, media and things like that. You got all that culture being shotgunned out there, so people are seeing there's a better way. That's why people, when they get the chance, they move from one place to here because they realize that the values over here are much better and the freedoms practiced here are a lot better. Now, fast forward to the Middle East. Israel right now is one of the main countries that has something closer to the West, like the United States, in the Middle East. Fact. No other country has it to that same degree. So when you come up here in your little Western fucking hat and fucking, you know, mustache, thinking you know better because you're in your ivory tower, thinking, yes, these people, yes, they think the same as I do. No, they're not gonna give you equal rights if they decide to take over Israel. Let's say if Hamas won. People are getting equal rights. You know what's going to happen? Genocide for sure against people who are non-Muslims, okay? That's what's going to happen. And Muslims who are seen as collaborators or liberals in that country are going to be exterminated. That's the reality. And the fact that you call yourself a journalist and not acknowledge that, you're crazy.
You did just see where you have a hostile population that has every reason to be hostile. I mean, if I were ethnically cleansed from my, you know, homeland, from my country, I would be pissed off. I would probably take up arms, you know, like anybody would. I mean, if I was expelled from my house here in Washington, D.C. from some whack job who thought, you know, God gave him the title, the deed to my house, well, you can bet that I would do everything possible to get it back. And probably my kid would and my grandkid. And so unless there's like, okay, we need to figure out some way for the rights of those people to be honored, and, you know, and now the people who are now living here, for them to not be like, you know, expelled, then, you know, that's the only way. Otherwise, we're going to see, I mean, consider what Israel's position is now. It's now in a horrible war in Gaza where it's killing a Palestinian child every 15 minutes, in a war it frankly cannot win without killing every last person in Gaza. It has to the north Hezbollah, which is much stronger than Hamas. And now it's basically in a smaller scale war with Hezbollah too, which could easily escalate. You have Syria, you have Iran, and you have Yemen, the Houthis, which have declared war. That is precisely the scenario you're describing, where the most of the surrounding countries, or many of the surrounding countries, which have which are heavily armed and have no shortage of people, are seeking to destroy the regime. And
so when you're surrounded by that many adversarial forces, some of which, if we talk about Hezbollah, if we talk about Hamas, if we talk about even the early foundations of like the PLO or Fatah, when you're talking about some of these organizations that have officially, in some cases in their charter, talked about the destruction of Israel completely, and then you've got Hamas, which is a terrorist.
That's the crazy thing. They're open about it. And I don't get, like, again, this is why people are looking at the left crazy, because they're looking at these people's official pages and their quotes and tweets and what they're saying out there. They're calling for the deaths and massacre of these people. Again, you're not seeing that so much on the Israeli side, but you're seeing it with a lot of these left and woke people and some of the extremist Muslims online. You're seeing a lot of this shit. We just played multiple videos of people marching through the streets saying we're looking for Jew blood, right? What the fuck is that? Okay, so we clearly there's a problem here. There's a deep-seated issue. Like you're calling yourself a journalist and you're not acknowledging that these people actually genuinely despise the Jews. That's why when you see videos like this, it makes you sick to your stomach, because when Israel attack right now, they're attacking terrorist bunkers, and Hamas, unfortunately, are putting civilians in harm's way, and civilians are dying. Israel is killing civilians. You can't hide or deny that. It's happening, right? But then we look at the attack that went on, you don't see Hamas going in and specifically targeting military outposts. The only outposts they targeted are ones along the border to allow them to get in, right? You see them specifically go into neighborhoods. You see them specifically go into civilian populated areas, and they killed civilians, paraded dead bodies through the streets. You're a journalist who was in Palestine, in Gaza. You should have seen this. Where you got it. You listen. This is why people are looking at you crazy, because they're saying, okay, listen, the babies, the babies were burned and they cut up in their graves. Like, their videos are being released, and you guys are sitting there screaming at the top of your lungs that you want free Palestine and whatnot, but you don't realize that Palestine is Hamas. Palestine is these people who are doing this right now. So you have to be honest, and that's the same thing y'all are doing that you did with all these other movements you've hijacked. You're not honest about the situation, which leads us to this mess where bozos take over, who are radicals on both sides.
Why would an Israeli
are seeking to destroy the regime? And
so when you're surrounded by that many adversarial forces, some of which, if we talk about Hezbollah, if we talk about Hamas, if we talk about even the early foundations of like the PLO or Fatah, when you're talking about some of these organizations that have officially, in some cases in their charter, talked about the destruction of Israel completely, and then you've got Hamas, which is a terrorist, organization that is like has no problem, targeting and killing civilians and everything as part of their violence. Why would an Israeli citizen feel like if they just had a one-state solution, everything would be okay? Like, how is this not setting up a perfect scenario where you're just going to see pogroms, you're going to see state-sanctioned violence, you're going to see, terrorism all across whatever the newly created state is, Israel plus or Palestine plus or whatever? Why wouldn't those people feel like all of their lives are now at risk?
Well, I mean, for one thing, that's exactly what we are seeing the Palestinians suffer: state-sanctioned violence.
The question. Well, I mean, the one thing we're seeing is on the no, but he asked a specific question though, because you're saying a one-state situation, right? But we know that when a one-state situation happens, there's going to be violence. You can't deny it. Even a lame brain would understand that there's going to be pockets of violence breaking out all over the place. So the question was, what is your solution to that? Because a lot of you are saying, well, we got a river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What about the violence that's going to happen in the meantime? All right, because for a fact it's going to happen tenfold on the other side. So are you advocating for genocide on the other side? Oh, well, now we got to completely skirt the question and just bring it back to the same old platitudes and talking points. Dude, you're a journalist? Really? Okay. Super Plantano Man, shout out to you for the $10 super chat. Super Plantano Man says, the only thing I agree with him is one state with Jews in Palestine. It makes sense because Israel doesn't want a two-state. Palestine isn't a country. Just look at the map. Yeah, no, we got the map. No, you're absolutely right. It's not a country. It was what do you call it? It was an it was a mandate at the time when they took it from the Ottoman Empire. And even when the Ottoman Empire had a control of this area you would call Palestine, okay, it was populated by Jews, Arabs. There wasn't really anything going on there, right? And essentially they rehoused a lot of the Jews from Europe there. Now that's what a lot of people don't get. The only people that were rehoused were the Jews from Europe, right? They came in with the Zionist movement, okay, which is a political movement, not the hidden hand type of movement, okay? They're a very political group, just like no different from any political group that we see here in the West. They were just very, 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 very effective, right? So the Zionist movement came in with the reorganization of the Jews. But what people fail to mention is before they made it officially Israel, okay, while it was still the British mandate of Palestine, Arabs and Jews were living there fine, peacefully, right? It wasn't until the European Jews came in, that's when the rest of the Arab world got pissed because they genuinely didn't want that. And that's where a lot of the issues are happening. But the issue with the one state is there's going to be violence unless Israel dominates, right? But no one's going to let that happen. Certainly not Qatar, certainly not Iran. They're not going to let that happen. So they're not going to have a one-state solution. The best possible course of peace is a two-state solution. I know some of y'all may not agree, so because Netanyahu doesn't want a two-state solution. I agree with that. He's a war hawk, right? But I think his time is running out at some point. But again, there is the best solution is a two-state solution, okay? Because that's the only freaking way this was going to work. If you just make it one state, there will be even way more deaths than we're seeing now. No, you will see a genocide. And that's not even, I mean, even the liberals themselves, I'm saying liberals because I'm liberal. I'm saying lefties. See, this is what the red pill freaking nonsense gets you, because they lump liberals in with leftists. But like these leftists, they don't understand it, bro. Like there's going to be violence. They can't answer that simple question.
Terrorist attacks. Even inside Israel, we're seeing, they just passed a law where even consuming social media that it is considered subversive, in support of terrorism is now illegal. And Palestinian citizens of Israel are being arrested. So what you're describing is a total projection of what Israel is actually doing, of what Israel actually is. Now, in that scenario that there's some kind of one-state solution, I mean, the fact is, I spent years living around among Israelis and Palestinians. Palestinians are not looking to kill Jews. It's not like, we just want to kill Jews. If they did, they could have easily killed me. I mean, I was in Gaza for 7 months. Hamas knew exactly who I was. If they wanted to string me up, drag me through the street, my name is Dan Cohen. I can't hide it,
Yeah, the difference is you're an American, dumbass, and you're a journalist, dumbass. And so it's going to look worse on them. Hamas, they're a terrorist group, but they're not stupid. So, yeah, if you come in, I'm a Western journalist, okay? They're not going to hurt you because Hamas has a narrative to spin, which they're doing a great job of it because here you are, stupid.
They would have easily done that. So this is not about anti-Semitism. Even if it's a national even if it's a national conflict, which it is, the fact is, if you take away the reason for people to take up arms and be violent, then the vast majority are not going to. You might have some outliers, some who will, but overall, that's why you have the rule of law. And so I'm not saying it's going to be like, you flip a switch and everything's like kumbaya, it's some kind of utopia. But ultimately, I mean, the only way to have some kind of peaceful future is to give everybody the same rights. I mean, it's like if here in the United States.
Oh my, you're a journalist? Oh my God. What an idiot. Oh my freaking God. Yeah, I mean, the best way to do this is just give everyone equal rights. Hey, dummy. Hamas don't give people equal rights, my boy. They give equal rights with that AK clip. All right. That's just what it is. I'm sorry. I pulled a sneak over there. It's not a clip. It's a mag. Okay. They will show you. They're not playing, bro. You have equal rights. Yeah, nah. We're 10 minutes into this and you've already proven you're a moron. Congratulations. That's a record.
Would we accept like living as a Christian state where anyone who is not Christian, according to the state's narrow definition, or any secular Christian is persecuted, no, I mean we would totally reject that. So I don't
agree.
know why.
Yeah, well, I agree we reject
okay
that, but I
Israel.
think the analysis is a little bit different in the United States because we're not surrounded by a whole bunch of people that want to kill all Christians.
That's facts.
Right?
But if the Christian state expelled a bunch of people who were like, I mean, if
okay, what about the Afghanis that are being expelled right now from another Muslim country in what do you call Pakistan, right? That's a Muslim country, and millions of Afghanistan Muslims are being expelled in mass numbers. Where is this journalist talking? This is Muslim on Muslim. No one's saying anything. Not even Muslims. It's okay. As long as we're committing genocide and atrocities against our own people who believe in the same faith we do, yeah, we'll just keep it on the rug. But when the Jews do it, or anything with Western media or Western military or boots on the ground, when they do something, we gotta blow it up. Do you see a pattern here? Okay, do you see a pattern? Because I'm starting to sense this. Again, this is like a lot of these leftist movement we're seeing all over the West, right? It's the same thing. The double standard here is crazy. It's crazy, right? And even take it down further, right? Because again, when we talk about the Black community, there are a lot of things to criticize about it, right? Now we have some unfair criticisms with people on the far right and the right as well, right? Because they don't really understand Black folks. So are people on the left, right? But the big thing is that you notice is that a lot of these guys, when it comes down to it, they don't really even know what it is they're doing. Like there's no real education there. They don't really understand what it is that they're really marching for or fighting for or things like that. And you end up just fucking up the entire thing just because of shit like this.
We did, right?
We did, exactly.
We expelled all the Native Americans when we came here, more or less, and they're now restrained to territories that exist in the U.S.
Exactly. So Israel is not exactly a unique case. The difference is that genocide is still going on.
The difference is it feels like we put like a special restriction here on Israel, right? Like if we're going to consider the Palestinians to all be refugees, like technically, my guess would be the majority, by the same definition, the majority of Jews in Israel would be refugees, right? Like you mentioned the expulsion.
No, they're Israeli citizens. What do you mean? Some of them may have been,
they're Israeli citizens, but that's because Israel tried
immigrated to Israel and they became citizens, just like any immigrant will come to America and they'll become a citizen. It's the same exact thing. Just because they're a citizen does not mean they're indigenous to the country. Batter of fact, if we want to pull it way back, a lot of y'all motherfuckers ain't indigenous here. Yeah, you want to talk about genocide? Look here at home. There are people, Native Americans are actively being wiped out right now. No. It's still happening to a lot of Native American communities in America. They're being wiped out. And a lot of it is done covertly, which is devious because it's done through government funding. We're overfunding these reservations to the point that they're not even doing anything with the money or building up their land or anything like that. And it's just all falling apart. So again, when no one's talking about these reservations that are going crazy in America right now, but yeah, we're still treating our indigenous population here pretty fucking badly. But I don't hear any liberals marching for that.
To incorporate them into the country, right? Whereas the Arab states surrounding the Palestinians explicitly will never incorporate Palestinians. You've got people living for generations in refugee camps.
Should they? They're not Syrians or Lebanese.
Why should they?
Whatever.
Because for the humanitarian reason of like trying to find better lives for people instead of using them as like political pawns to maintain an indefinite struggle against another country.
That's what Israel is doing. It falls on the country or the entity that ethnically cleansed those people, not on the recipients. I mean, it's like it's not their job. And I'm not, again, I totally oppose the monarchy of Jordan.
Sure, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that you brought up 48 and 67, and I'm pretty sure it even happened in 73 after Yom Kippur.
What the 48, 67, these are all the Arab-Israeli wars, right, that took place. And a lot of those wars, they were started because of the Arab invasion. So the Muslims started it first. You could do any research. I don't care how emotional you are on the topic. It don't matter. Your emotions ain't going to beat facts here, okay? Facts are facts. The Arab nation started it. Now, the nuances of how they got started, you can go ahead and research that. But whoever the people who launched the first bombs and missiles and rockets at the other was these we call it the Arab nations. Okay, so you guys got to understand that. But I don't think people put things in the historical context. They just see things from that. Oh, these guys came in 1948. They pushed them off their lands. No, because then that's crazy because they're Jews that were there already. So did those Jews get pushed off? Like, are you high? Stop looking at it, because when you take the lens off of this European colonizer, or you know, that colonization mindset or invader mindset, like these guys on the far left have, okay, you start to see things pragmatically. Okay, there were still Jews there, and it wasn't even a country called Palestine. It wasn't. It was a mandate at the time. All right, even when the Ottomans ran it. It wasn't really there was nothing really going on over there, and there were Jews and Arabs, right? That were not Jews and Arabs, because the Jews over there are Arabs, right? It's just the Jews and Muslims. They were there. They were there. Now there was some violence that went on amongst both of them, but still, it wasn't as crazy as we see right now, especially when the European Jews came over, because I think that's what triggered the rest of the Arab world to really go in on that area. But let's continue.
Single time Israel has won wars against the surrounding Arab states, all of those Arab states have also like ethnically cleansed and expelled Jewish people as well, right? That's where all of the big immigration waves were happening after 48, after the 6-Day War in 67, after the Yom Kippur War in 73. Like, this happens like over and over again.
Do you know what cruel Zionism is? Do you know about like the Levant affair, or how Iraq?
I wish Destiny would just ask him what does Zionist mean? Like, a lot of these people are like, Zionist, I'm against Zionist, I'm anti. What, can you ask them what does Zionist actually mean? Right? A lot of these people, they won't be able to tell you. Again, they see Zionist as another slur, right? It's almost becoming a slur at this point, right? That's what we're hearing, right? So we hear Zionist, people are just using it as like this derogatory thing. Like, I'm anti-Zionist. What's a Zionist? What is Zionism? What does that even mean? Do you know? And if you ask that question, you just see a bunch of these guys fumble, because they don't actually know anything. They just talk in platitudes and talking points.
Iraqi Jews, how they fled Iraq. It was actually Zionists that attacked them in order to compel. Zionists threw firebombs into Iraqi Jewish synagogues in order to compel them to flee, because they couldn't get enough Jews to outnumber the Palestinians. And this is the whole logic of Zionism, is it's not about saving Jewish life, it's about having more Jews than non-Jews.
Sure, so, and I kind of understand what you're saying. I'm also familiar with the Levant affair. I think it was in the 50s when Israel, I think the Mossad tried to penetrate Egyptian society and do terrorist attacks. I'm aware of that. But also at the same time, all of these Arab countries, including Egypt, are sponsoring Fedayeen camps that are surrounding Israel, that are doing terrorist attacks on Israel the whole time as well, right? Like, it's always all of the Arabs.
Which is frankly understandable. Like, why would these countries.
Well, hold on. Understandable and justified are two different things, because Israel's position is also understandable, right? Arguably, they've been under attack by the entire Arab world for the past 75 years.
They were imposed. Israel has constantly been attacking. Israel was imposed through a massive act of violence that was never, ever rectified.
Well, the massive act of violence
maintained through constant violence.
Well, the massive act of violence, it was them buying property, right? I mean, we can argue whether or not.
No. This guy's an idiot, right? They actually, with the British mandate, the Jews bought the property, right? Now, if you want to talk about the current situation with the West Bank and the encroachment, that's a different story. But when we're talking about back then, they bought the land. So again, that's like this. Like, if I buy a house in America, well, actually, it is kind of like that, because you pay property taxes. It's like, wait a minute, do I actually own this house, or like what? That doesn't make any sense. Like even with a car, you buy a car, right? And my car is like really new. So when I take it to the shop, you gotta pay for the computer components in there. So when they jack the little thing, the car computer, right? I think it's the ECM or whatever it is, right? It tells you what's wrong with your car. You gotta pay them to diagnose that, right? And it's like, wait a minute, why can't I get the software to basically, diagnose it myself? Why do I got to take it to a Ford dealer, a Chrysler dealer, or all these other dealerships to find out what's wrong with it? If I bought the damn car, I should own the computer on the damn car too. But I guess we don't. Y'all need to look into that. We don't own shit right now. But again, going back to it, it's like if I bought a house in America, right? And all of a sudden, like, I go into a neighborhood, I buy a house in that neighborhood, and I paid for it, honestly and fairly. And I go in there, and the people in the neighborhood start protesting me and calling me a colonizer. It's like, huh? Wait, I moved in out of state, but I paid fair and square for this land. Like, it's mine. You sold it to me. It's mine. So why I paid you for it? That don't make any sense. And that's what essentially went on. But these guys don't get it.
You don't know about the ethnic cleansing of Palestine? Are you familiar with watch the movie Tantura? Those videos are going viral where Israeli, former militiamen of the Haganah, of the Lehi, openly describe how they mass murdered Palestinian civilians. They raped young women. They used flamethrowers to burn people alive. When we say Nazi level violence.
Sure. When we say Al Nakba, it's not Nazi level. When we say
are you kidding me? Burning people alive? That's pogroms.
I'm saying
pogroms. That's what happened. I'm saying that's what happened to my family in Lithuania. When my family was exterminated by Nazis, and I don't think just because I'm Jewish or Israel.
All the more reason why you should be ashamed of yourselves. Honestly, I'm gonna just be real with you. All the more reason, nigga, you should be ashamed, because if your family experienced what it means to be expelled from someplace, okay, you yourself should understand that. Like, for instance, for me, I was expelled from my country, not by the country, but by the violence that was going on in the country. Again, when I was 7, we were witnessing gay people get burned to death. Like, I was seeing that. I saw that shit. You'd walk down the street, there were dead bodies. Why? Because there were people who don't believe in the same laws as other people that believe that they have the right to kill you because you don't have the same beliefs as them. I had that experience. I'm not bringing that culture over here. I don't think anybody deserves that. But the fact of the matter is, going through that, fleeing that area and coming here to a better culture, all right? I have a better understanding of where I came from. You have experience with that and you don't know what the fuck is going on? You're crazy. You're fucking nuts. You call yourself a journalist. What research have you done? You're hard. You should. You all the more reason you should understand what's going on, and you don't. I feel sorry for you, bro. Like, again, it's just like history. People who don't pay attention, they're just doomed to repeat it, huh?
Sure, I'm not talking about that. I'm just asking. Like, you're talking about Al Nakba. What do you know? What preceded that?
Do I know what preceded Al Nakba?
Yeah.
Yes, decades of Zionist colonization.
Okay, it was Israel. By the British. Sure, it was Israel. That's not entirely true, but it was Israel declaring themselves a country, and then every single surrounding Arab state saying that.
No, that was in the middle of the ethnic cleansing.
That's not at all. When they moved in, and they decided to make the nation Israel, okay, the attacks happened. Matter of fact, before the mandate was over, there was already riots by Muslim countries already getting ready to cascade into a full-blown war, which it did. All right. And that's why people are always worried about whenever tensions rise in the Middle East, because it doesn't have just an ability to pull in one country, especially if Israel's going at it with, it doesn't matter what Middle Eastern country it is, right? If Israel's going at it with them, it has the ability to pull in all the Middle Eastern countries, because, again, the one thing that unites a lot of these people is the fact that they don't like anyone that doesn't have the same beliefs. We see that in the expulsion in all these states. Now, to be fair, that's not all these people who are in these countries, right? But the leadership in these countries, they have such a strong far-right conservative stranglehold over their people, are the ones that are perpetuating this bullshit, okay? Again, I can't even in Nigeria, we have the same thing, right? Because we have Islamic law, just like a lot of these other Middle Eastern countries. So I can speak from experience when I say, like, when people who are living underneath these laws, they don't like it. They hate it. For peace sakes, it's 2023 and we're stoning women. What the fuck is that shit? It's 2023 and we're throwing gay people off of roofs because of what? Because they decide to just be comfortable in their sexuality, right? Like, or whatever they want to do, right? We're just throwing them off the roof. That's not an ideology you want permeating throughout the world. So people got to understand there are good cultures and there are bad cultures. Just got to keep it real. It's ignorant to ignore that, especially in a conversation like this.
Is when Israel declared itself a state. You're talking about the UN partition plan.
No, the UN partition plan was 47.
This guy's an idiot.
Jewish people accepted it. The Arabs rejected it. And then after the rejection of the partition plan...
Hold on. Sure. The state of Israel was declared amid the ethnic cleansing in 1948.
No, it wasn't. You were such a tard, bro. Who did your research? It didn't happen. They declared that in 1948. In 1947. 1948, the war started. It was literally like that. It was that quick. Even before then, there was riots and unrest leading up to the fight because they knew the Arab world was going to jump in. Israel had to get themselves ready for a fight. So you trying to insert, well, there was a genocide here somewhere, but I don't know where it was. It didn't happen, bro. Relax. It didn't happen. I mean, guarantee that you lost. Like, again, you're a journalist, and research is not even something that you can put in your in your register here. Who certified you?
It was not declared in 1947 when the Nakba started. So your history is wrong, number one. Number two, Israel is not the Jewish people. I am part of Jewish people. Israel, I am not Israeli.
Who honestly believes that statement? I am part of Jewish people, while he's nodding his head no. Nigga, you know exactly what the fuck you are.
Is not the Jewish people. I am part of Jewish people. Israel, I'm not Israeli. I'm not a Zionist. I have nothing to do with that. And frankly, it's an anti-Semitic equation that only Zionists and anti-Semites believe. So I reject that entirely.
Okay, that's great if you reject it, but the mass expulsion of Arab people happened after the declaration of Israel as an independent state. You can say that.
Boom. Again, he's not getting it. After they were declared a state, they had to move. They had to go. They moved the Arabs out. There wasn't no ethnic cleansing before that. And look at you saying, oh, no, you're wrong. Anyone who does the research, you're wrong. This is why people are leaving you, because you're out here spewing stuff based on ideology instead of facts. I think we're done with that era, bruh. Get the fuck out of here if you're calling yourself a journalist. We need facts so people can get to rational discussions and get to rational solutions, like a two-state solutions. Even though you don't believe that, you believe in a one-state. The fuck does that look like? You'll just have more massacres. Two-state is the best solution. I don't care whatever anyone says, okay? You can't do that. It's one side that doesn't want to agree to it because they don't like the fact that Israel's there. It is what it is. Get the fuck over it, Hamas, all right? Or get the fuck out, which is what they're going to do. It is what it is.
That it was happening during, you can say that it was happening during the partition plan, but the partition plan that Israel agreed to only had the country as 55% Jewish people. 45% there were going to be Arab Palestinians. That was the plan that they agreed to. So to say that they were massively expelling Arabs while agreeing to an Arab-Jewish split in the population doesn't make any sense. It's ahistoric.
No, but what you're saying is you got your timeline wrong. There was the partition plan, which of course Arabs rejected for obvious reasons. Why would they agree to give up their land? And who is the UN to impose that? And then you have
You're a dumbass. It wasn't their land. It was owned by the British through a mandate at the time. It wasn't their land. What are you talking about? When war happens and an empire takes over another empire, right? To prevent that other empire that was defeated from ever rising up again, typically they get broken apart, right? The country gets broken apart, the leadership gets destroyed, things like that tends to happen, and the victor gets to do what the fuck they want to do with that land. In this case, the Ottoman Empire lost and the British owned it. Okay, so it was the British land. Just like Nigeria, or the amalgamation they want to call Nigeria, which realistically is just a shit fest, okay? That was a British mandate too. And then all of a sudden it became a country and we're called Nigerians. But the people there, they don't like each other. They're all fighting constantly because they just drew a line and said, okay, you guys are now a country. That's essentially what was going on, okay? It wasn't even a real country until it was done through the British mandate. And then when they said, okay, we're going to give this land to the Jews, they owned it. It was their land. It was the British land. It wasn't anyone else's. And guess what? When the British owned land, Jews and Arabs were still there. And part of the partition plan meant Arabs and Jews are still going to live cohesively, but there's this thing called Israel now. So you just coming out here with these facts, and we don't know where they're starting from or coming from, and you call yourself a journalist.
Ethnic cleansing, Zionist militias attacking Palestinian villages in order to get people to flee, similar to they're doing now in Gaza. And amid that, in 1948, the second year is when the state of Israel was established, not in 1947. So,
oh my God, this guy, bro.
The ethnic cleansing had started, and the whole idea was to get as many Palestinians to flee as possible, push them out using terrorist means, because those were militias. Those were not state forces at the time. There were three Zionist militias: the Haganah, the
Irgun. And
the Irgun and the Lehi, the Stern Gang. Mm-hmm. Okay, so those three teamed up to expel, ethnically cleanse using terrorist attacks, and ethnically cleanse as much as possible of these Palestinian villages. And when they got all of them out, they had gotten those people to flee. That's when they established the state. That's
You're stupid. That's not it at all, bro. That is not it at all. The state was established when the mandate was up. That was it. When the British mandate was up, we got Israel. What are you talking about, dude?
The history.
Okay, that's just wrong. I don't know what to say, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't even know where to start with that. Like, this dude, like, again, this is what we see on the left, right? A lot of these guys, they would just grandstand like they know all the facts, and then they just get it completely wrong, but they think they're in the right. It's like, huh? You spilled a bunch of shit that's factually inaccurate, and you guys claim to be the party of facts and evidence. Where the fuck? You're a journalist? What research have you done? I don't see it.
But you said Israel was established in 1947. That's not true.
I didn't say Israel was established in 47. I said their Declaration of Independence was 48. The partition plan was 47. It was rejected by the Arabs.
Said the establishment of the state was in 47.
You said the partition plan. You emotional bozo.
So you're wrong, man.
I mean, everybody can go back and listen, but the declaration was in 1948, and then it was after the first Arab-Palestinian War in 48. After that, or during and after that war, that's when the mass expulsion began.
What's the point you're trying to get at? What's the bigger
point? What's the bigger point you're trying to get at? The bigger point is you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're spreading propaganda rather than facts. You're part of the problem, not the solution.
Point here.
The point that I'm trying to get at is I feel like sometimes we get a pretty one-sided reading of history where the Israeli nation is like basically shown to be aggressive and expansionist over and over and over and over again. But people always mention the expulsion part. They never mention the stuff preceding it, which is oftentimes a lot of anti-Israeli or anti-Jewish violence from the Arab surrounding states. I'm not saying,
and there are tons of documentaries on this too, by the way. You would literally see videos of like of Arab leaders or Muslim Arab leaders literally calling for the death of all Jews. Right, it's crazy. Like, and honestly, I'm actually shocked because again, I'm one of those people that don't really care about religion, but I'm surprised the amount of anti-Semitism that's coming out of like especially a lot of these countries back at the time, right? And even what we're seeing now, I'm actually genuinely shocked that the amount of anti-Semitism I'm seeing in Islam. Like, I didn't even know, and that's the thing. I don't look into religions like that, right? But again, right, when you're seeing some of these footages, and these were people way back in the day. These were people you look at and say are religious leaders. They got the outfit and everything, right? They're just preaching to people, and there are people listening to them where they're talking about inanimate objects calling out, assisting in killing Jews. The fuck is that? I don't care. Like, there ain't no religion of like. Listen, if your religion is condemning you to kill someone, or not condemning you, but asking you to kill someone, or they're looking forward to a day where then you commit massacre, that you should rethink that. You should probably study science, math, and engineering, the things that actually make the world turn and move, right? It's important instead of fucking fairy tales out here. Like, because this is how crazy it starts to get, where people start deluding themselves to believe that their cause of violence is somehow going to translate to heaven. Get real, bruh.
Saying that necessarily justifies Israel, but I'm saying that this has been a back and forth for a while, and I think to present Israel as like the clear wrong here does a disservice to what actually happened historically.
Well, it didn't start in 1947, 1948. It started with the beginning of Zionism is when it started. I mean, the 1920s is really when Zionism came into really came into its own. I mean, at first, Palestinians really didn't have problems with, European Jews. And there were Palestinian Jews, of course. But in the 1920s, when Zionists began agitating...
What's a Zionist, bro? The fuck is a Zionist? Again, you're just using that. I don't think you know what it means.
Specifically around holy sites, even though they were not religious, they just saw they saw holy sites as ways that they could exploit and create sectarian differences between the religions. Then that's when things started to get nasty in 1920 and the Nebi Musa riots, and then the decade that ended with the 1929. And what happened was, after rumors spread, well, actually, not rumors, they were true, that the revisionist wing of the Zionists were agitating around the Al-Aqsa compound and the Western Wall, which Jews had basically nothing to do with. Jews didn't go and pray there then. That was a Zionist invention.
Wait, how is the Second Temple a Zionist invention?
This,
no, not this.
this nigga is an idiot. Yo, that wall has so many significance to Jews. It's not even funny, bro. Like, the fact that he says it's a Zionist invention, I am 100%, he doesn't know what a Zionist is. Matter of fact, this guy calling himself a journalist is akin to Saint the Sinner calling himself the greatest technologist of all time. Okay, I don't see any proof, bro. Like, what? Yo, you're a journalist? What the fuck?
Not the Second Temple. Praying at the Western Wall is a Zionist invention. That was not something that Jews did. Okay, so when you see oh, I'm Jewish and I went to Israel or Trump.
Well,
or
when you say
whatever,
they didn't do it, it's because they've historically been expelled from those lands for like some 2,000 years.
It was actually a really good movie. I forgot what the name of. There's a really, really good old movie that came out that detailed the expulsion of the Jews by the Arab countries, the Muslim countries. Like after that, right on the other side of the wall, there was actually a documentary that detailed all of that. This is real. Like religion over there is not a joke to them. I mean, neither to the Muslims too as well. But still, it's this lefty journalist over here that thinks he knows better, and he says that the wall significance is a Zionist invention. Wow, we're stupid.
Oh, it's because it was something that was not part of Jewish tradition, was going to the wall to pray. That is a Zionist invention. If you understand anything about Judaism, you'd know that, but I guess you're not much of a scholar of Judaism, so I'm just telling you this.
Well,
so,
I mean, hold on. The Temple Mount is literally like the holiest site in all of...
It is so holy, in fact. Okay, we're talking about two different places. The Western Wall and the Temple Mount are two different places. The Temple Mount is
I'm
so
sorry,
holy.
Wasn't the Temple Mount the one that was destroyed? The original one, not the new one that was built, but the Temple Mount that was originally destroyed on the wasn't that destroyed by the Romans? And wasn't that done during the biggest Jewish rebellions? I think it was under one of the most popular Roman emperors out there. It was Emperor Vespasian. Roman Emperor Vespasian and his son Titus were on a mission to exterminate Jews in that region alone, right? Because at that time it was called Judea, right? I remember this. Yeah. At that time it was called Judea, and yeah, it was home to the holiest temple of the Jews. They prayed there religiously, and the Jews rebelled, especially when it came to Roman incursion at that time. And I remember that was the time where the temple got destroyed because the Jewish rebellion was so strong that the Romans were like, "Fuck this shit, dude! You guys are done." And they actually crushed the Jewish rebellion. They destroyed the temple. And correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think they destroyed the temple itself. They burned it, and that's what led to the complete destruction of the Jewish rebellion, right? But even just thinking about that, and this is something that just hit me. This was a while ago, but even thinking about that again, when we weren't even saying the ancestorial claim part to it, even looking at way back then, the Jews were there. So again, it's not this original land belonged to a group of people or this land belonged to a group of other people. That's not actually the case at all. It turns out when you look out through history, people swap different lands. Okay, and recently it was swapped from the Ottomans to the British, and they gave it back to the Jews. Oh my God, I can't believe I totally forgot that too. Yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, this should bring back memories, bro.
Difference between these two places?
When you see the area where like now tons of Israeli Jews go and pray, and like where they put like a little note in the wall, in the crack in the wall, right? That is the Western Wall.
Wait, what?
Wow! Oh my God, dude! He just called the holiest place that Jews find holy a Zionist invention. He doesn't know what a Zionist is. I am absolutely convinced this guy's an idiot. He's lying about he's not a journalist, bro. He's about a journalist as Saint the Sinner as a technologist, bro. There's no way. There's no fucking way.
I think it's the Western Wall of.
It's the Western Wall of the Temple Mount.
Yes.
But the Temple Mount is an entirely different thing. It's not forbidden in Judaism to go to the Western Wall, but it's something that Jews didn't do.
Because they didn't have access to the land,
I'm telling
right?
No, that's not why. I'm telling you, I'm trying to explain something to you about Judaism that I'm guessing, are you Jewish?
Wow, nigga, you're Jewish and you don't even know why the Temple Mount is so important to other Jews. Whoa, bro. Hey, listen. listen, sometimes it be your own people. Hey, we face that here in the black community as well. Okay, listen, I'm not religious. I don't give a fuck, but I am black. Okay, all king folk ain't king folk. Oh, all skin folk ain't king folk. That's what I'm starting to understand. It be your own people, bro. This man is a Jew and doesn't realize the significance of the most holiest place for all Jews and why they pray on that wall. You're crazy. Nah. You have the balls to look at Destiny and say, "I'm sorry." Are you Jewish? Who the hell you tell me what to do? Are you Jewish? I'm Jewish. So that gives me the right to spew whatever bullshit I want. Oh my God, bro. And again, this is what we see from leftists all the time, right? The argument from authority. Just because I am what I am and I have the experience being what I am, okay, you can't tell me otherwise. And we see this happen throughout the left, right? Again, history repeating itself. Where have we heard this before? All right, the same thing when people try to criticize. Oh, well, are you from this? Are you from this place? If you're not from this place, who are you to talk about it? Right? Again, are you this gender? If you're not this gender, who are you to talk about it? Are you gay? If you're not gay, who are you to talk about it? Right? So again, it's this little segmentation of qualification. But even the people who are qualified to talk about it, which isn't based on intellect, it's just based on the fact that they belong to that group, which shouldn't be a immediate qualifier at all. But anyways, I digress. Even the people from those particular groups don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Be your own people.
Not, but I know a fair bit of Jewish history. I'm pretty sure after the expulsion in but was it around like 100 to 150 or whatever? I think the Jewish religion started to reform a bit, and that they tried not to center as much around worshiping like holy sites, and they tried to be a little bit more religiously like related to all of the stuff that they do basically around like worship at synagogue and everything and all the little traditions and everything they have there. But it was because they were cut out of that land. Like it's always for thousands of years, it's been like a dream for Jews to go back to the Middle East or to Palestine and have access to these holy sites. But the holy sites were completely cut off from them for.
And honestly, if you actually look throughout history, right? And I'm a huge history nerd sometimes. If you look throughout history, the Jews have always been the ones who've been. It actually kind of makes sense, right? Because the Jews have always been the ones who've been kicked out throughout every empire that has been there. Like usually Jews get persecuted a lot, right? And I just and sometimes Christians now I'm seeing right now more than ever before. But back then when you're reading through it, yeah, Christians did get persecuted alongside with the Jews. But yeah, there were a lot of times, even when the Jews got expelled from Egypt, and all these different things like that, whenever new empires come in, they somehow, it's just Jewish people, they don't like them. I don't know what it is with that mentality. It's definitely a sickening mentality, right? But I don't know.
So do you think these holy sites aren't holy to Jewish people or weren't holy in the year 1000 or 1500?
Of course they were. It's the holiest site in the world for Jewish people. But you
just said it was a Zionist invention. Oh my God, he's a journalist, he says. How
for thousands of years, and to this day, Orthodox Judaism, like the religious ones, which is not me, they approach the Temple Mount, the holiest place in the world. Mm-hmm. For Jews, it is so holy that you don't go there. Why? Because since the destruction of the temple, it is completely forbidden, because in their, sort of in the theology, they don't know
who destroyed the temple though. You're not, again, I think he has a weird amalgamation of his version of history. All right. And he's stringing it all together to make his point, not realizing he's just digging a bigger hole.
Where what's called the Holy of Holies, where the holiest sites were on the Temple Mount. They don't know where it was. So it's actually, according to all rabbis, except Zionist rabbis, which have basically rewritten Judaism in order to suit their nationalist agenda, it is completely forbidden. And this is still maintained by the vast majority of rabbis, and definitely rabbis around the world. It is.
Y'all remember Aiden Ross, how he was like buddied up with Nick Fuentes? Right, and we criticized that when Aiden Ross was a Jew himself, and he's out here with an anti-Semite like Nick Fuentes, spewing all the same bullshit that you see some of the leftists spewing right now. Y'all remember where I'm like, yo, it be people like this they be bringing out here to be literally against their own people, right? That's what I see with this guy. He's literally the Aiden Ross in this situation right here, right? You're a Jew, and you think that the most holiest part of your people's history was a Zionist invention. Who destroyed the temple, my boy? Can you tell us? Like, let's talk history here. Who destroyed the temple? Oh my God, he's a journalist. Oh my God.
100% forbidden. One of the worst sins in Judaism to step a foot onto the Temple Mount, let alone to pray there or anything else. And it is actually punishable by a divinely imposed death sentence.
Isn't the whole, I thought that one of the like fulfillments of the Jewish religion was to like rebuild the third temple.
The only way that happens, like the entire, I'll explain this. The entire logic of Zionism, basically it's secular, atheistic nationalists who borrowed the
You what? Zionism, secular, atheist, national. You're a journalist.
logic of the Jewish religion, including the ingathering of the Jews. So, anybody who had converted to the Jewish religion, like my family is not indigenous to Palestine. I'm from like Russia and, Eastern Europe. Okay. All of these people who became Jewish would one day, when God decides, would ingather, the so-called diaspora would come back would go to Palestine. So that is also, you would have a Jewish kingdom, you would have a king and a Sanhedrin, a council of kings, you would have a Jewish army, all of these, and a temple. All of these things, according to Jewish law, Jewish tradition, what all rabbis have always taught, that can only happen when God decides through supernatural means. To do anything to advance that process is completely forbidden, 100% forbidden.
I feel like you're talking about like a particular sect of Orthodox Judaism.
No.
He is. He's just conflating it. He doesn't really know that. Again, he's a journalist, though. We all gotta respect the journalist, because when the left throws the journalist, title at you, you gotta listen to him. That's why a lot of these far leftists, they've gotten so entitled and crazy on Twitter, right? Because somehow just labeling themselves as journalists gives them some kind of fucking entitlement, freaking notion that they feel as though they know more, but they're spewing bullshit. You just proved you know less than the average 5-year-old. Congratulations, Mr. Journalist.
This is Orthodox Judaism across the board. When Zionism came about around in the late 19th century, it was denounced as false messianism for this exact reason, because they saw that these were like secular nationalists who are not religious at all, who are sinners, in fact. And they said, no, this is, you're using our religion to do something completely different. And this is actually an impediment. In fact, one of the most important rabbis, the Satmar Rebbe from that era, he said he actually believed later that the Holocaust was punishment for Zionism. So the idea...
Yo, self-hate is real. We see this in the black community. I know I keep comparing to the black community because I know. Listen, it's something I understand more than certain things, right? But sometimes it'd be people who are from the same community that'll be the main ones trying to deny the reality of what's going on. And that's what this guy is doing right now, especially with that statement. Right, and you're using the Holocaust and saying no, yeah, it was the Holocaust. It happened because it was retribution for Zionism. Whoa, the wave of anti-Semitic nonsense I'm seeing in the West, I'm definitely scared. And y'all know me, bro. I've been speaking out against this shit, even with the Nick Fuentes situation and whatnot. I'm anti-hate, but just seeing the amount of hate coming from the people who are supposed to be the same. Yo, y'all look crazy. I can't rock with y'all. Y'all need to go somewhere with that bullshit. Get the fuck out. Because you're ruining this shit.
The idea that Zionists have created that, it's just the will of Judaism, what we've longed for thousands of years, is completely a farce, 100%. And now, and even Zionists going back, to the...
Okay, wait, real quick. Okay. I disagree on... This religious reading is not what I've been told by any other Jewish person. It's not what I've been linked to. I'm sure there are certain radical sects, but like regardless of that,
no, that's
fine. Regardless of the religiosity, what is the argument for today? Because you're advocating for a one-state solution. If you look at the history of how Jews have been treated in other Arab countries, if you look at the history of how other Arab countries have treated Jews in Israel, what is the strong argument that you can make to Israeli citizens today that a one-state solution would guarantee that they wouldn't just get massacred as soon as the country becomes an Arab and a Muslim majority country?
look at how things are going. Israel is completely dependent on the United States. If the U.S. cuts and runs, Israel's cooked. It's completely reliant.
I doubt.
And it is with Benjamin Netanyahu and his band of Kahanists who are, openly, explicitly eliminationists. They're explicit fascists, like Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is now who was part of a terrorist organization, according to the Israeli government and the United States. This guy was a terrorist. He's now the head of police. He's the internal security minister in Israel. You have Bezalel Smotrich.
Sure, I understand all the names and the people. The Ben-Gvir guys.
Well, my point is, you have these fanatics who have come to power because Zionism has reached its logical conclusion.
Hey, Chad, you got a drink in your hand right now. Okay, pop a shot every time he says Zionism, because for a fact he don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Driving the country into like an apocalypse,
sure, but
into Armageddon.
I don't think Israel is forcing the Palestinians to support Hamas. I don't think Israel has been forcing Hamas to be shooting rockets into Israel for the past 15 years. I don't
think look, I like I said, I spent 7 months in Gaza. I know
that doesn't make you an expert, Tard.
Oh, Gaza well. Hamas, like armed resistance or terrorism, if you want to call it that, did not start with Hamas. There were other armed groups before that. So this is not fundamentally about Hamas.
Well, it's not, but Hamas has been there as the ruling party since 2007, right? And they've been shooting rockets.
Yeah, and you guys got to talk about the Muslim Brotherhood, okay? That shit that came out of Egypt. You got to, because they want to spread Shia across the Arab world, okay? So we got to talk about them because they're responsible for Hamas and Hezbollah. No one's talking about that. Again, the Muslim Brotherhood. They are a very real thing, bro.
Rockets nonstop ever since. So again, to reiterate the question once more, why would Jewish citizens of Israel feel like they would be safe in a one-state solution when you've got, you said it, Hezbollah's to the north, Hamas is like the ruling party in the Gaza Strip, like every other Arab country still seems to be.
Look what the system has brought them to this point, to just permanent war and creating enemies at every turn. So the system, Zionism, is totally discredited.
Sure, but no, because prior to the system, first of all, Israel is thriving as a country in the Middle East, especially compared to a lot of their neighbors.
Are you sure? Because for the last 3 years, there've been.
Whoa! Did he just say Israel's not thriving? They're one of the main countries that give water to all these other Middle Eastern countries. They're giving it to Gaza. They're giving it to Jordan. They're giving it to what are you talking about? They're able to farm and get food. They're exporting shit right now. They know what they're doing. Like, Israel is not a joke. They're doing it. So for you to, as a journalist who spent 7 months in Gaza, apparently, and you don't think the Israelis are doing well, you're crazy. You're not a journalist, bro. You're a propagandist. I think you're slowly, Chat, as we're watching this, we're seeing the mask slowly fall off. Like, this is the kind of propagandist nonsense that we're seeing spread out through the internet. A bunch of idiots that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they just want to spread stuff based off emotion to convince people to think a certain way. This guy is being paid by somebody, guaranteed.
Been massive protests against the prime minister, the longest.
There have been massive protests, and yet Netanyahu continues to hold his prime ministership. Right?
Friends of mine in Israel who are not. No, not everybody knows who your friends are. Okay, we're talking about facts and data. Where is that? No one cares about friends of yours who are in Israel right now or Gaza. All right, we want to know what the facts are on the ground. You journalist,
fanatics. They're all trying to leave the country. The Zionist project, the wheels are coming off.
They're all trying to leave Israel? Where is he getting his facts from?
There's a huge divide in the country that makes, I have friends who are like.
I understand there's a huge divide, but this is like the seventh Gaza-Israeli war. I don't know why we think this one is going to be dramatically different.
That's fine.
But again, let's say that everything you're saying is true. Is the wheels are coming off with the history of violence from every other Arab state towards Israeli citizens. Why would we expect a one-state solution to just not end in mass genocide or mass pogroms or mass ethnic expulsion?
That's just it's a terrible reading of history. It's just totally a false reading of history is what it is.
Which part is false?
Constant war from the Arab states. When is the last time Jordan went to war with Israel?
Jordan, in 48, they took the West Bank, which wasn't technically owned by Israel.
Jesus Christ, bro. This guy's an idiot. This guy is a real dummy. Wow.
Israel. In
Constant state
67,
of
in
war.
67, hold on, you asked me for one state. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, they fired into West Jerusalem. They were part of the coalition of states that went to war. In 73, during the Yom Kippur War, Jordan was part of the war. And after 73, with the advent of a lot of the extremist Palestinian groups like the PLO, there were basically constant terror attacks launched into Israel until that group was expelled from Jordan. So
and now you have, and since how many decades has the Jordanian government done security coordination with Israel, where it prevents Palestinians, like when these Gaza massacres are going on and Palestinians go to demonstrate, the Jordanians stop them. They act on their behalf.
Yeah, that's great. The Jordanians do now, but what about Syria? What about Lebanon?
But you just said these countries are in a constant state of war.
Hold on. No. I said that the history.
I said that the bombing Syria.
They are. They just like some of them are going towards a state of normalization now, especially Saudi Arabia, because they want nukes. Okay, but don't get it twisted. Just because they're trying to normalize with each other doesn't mean they're actually friendly with each other. All right. If Israel didn't have nukes, they would be attacking them on a daily. It just is what it is.
Said that
Israel's
the history
constantly bombing Syria. Israel went to war against Lebanon in 2006 and got spanked. It had occupied it for decades.
Hey, my boy, do you even understand history? Who do you think went to war in Syria against Assad to try to overthrow the Assad government? It was Hamas. Hamas and Hezbollah. They were in Syria. Okay, they were fighting to overthrow Assad. And guess who was paying them? The U.S. and Israel, actually, which is crazy. But Israel always destabilized shit over there. But that's who was paying them. Again, get out of your emotional ass fucking panties, all right? And stick to the real world geopolitics like the big boys, all right? We understand the real reason and what's going on. Politics isn't a colonizer and just, it's not just that. Yeah, there's an element of that going on, but there's also backhand deals and hand washing and a bunch of quid pro quos that goes in, all right? Special interests are always going to take priority over anything, okay? And that's what we're seeing here. So the lines when it comes to who's the good guy and bad guy, it's actually blurred here. It's all about special interest groups and their agendas, which some people who are calling themselves so-called journalists can't even pick up the fact that that's what's happening. Hamas fought on the side of Israel when it came down to the agenda against Syria. Keep that in mind while these bozos are talking.
Decades before, it's like you're completely flipping reality on its head.
Hold on.
Israel has constantly been the aggressor.
Historically, okay, like in what conflict was Israel historically the aggressor? Like which one of these conflicts?
Let's see. Well, I mean, let's just look at the current situation.
Well, you said historically. We can look at the current situation, but the history informs the current situation if you want to do it historically, right? If we just want to look at the current situation, then I would say clearly Israel.
John, ISIS ended up partnering with Hamas later on. All right, when they end up taking, because ISIS started fighting Egypt. ISIS went to war with Egypt, and they were dominating that territory after they got kicked out of the areas in the Middle East. So they took over Egypt and whatnot. So they were actually attacking areas in there, and while they were attacking areas, they actually worked with Hamas. That's where ISIS taught Hamas a lot of the tunneling techniques, a lot of the rocket making techniques. Like ISIS really made Hamas that we know today. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It was ISIS, but Hamas, they trained Hamas when they went to that region. Hamas essentially is ISIS.
Surrounded by a ton of enemies. So I don't know why a Jewish person living in Israel would feel comfortable doing a one-state solution where 6 million Palestinians come back and now they're a massive.
By the way, and I think during around that time they're talking about too, or at least later, a little bit later on, there was a who was the Egyptian leader at the time that wanted to nationalize the resources there. I think that because Israel also aided in the invasion of that area too as well. I think it was the Sinai Peninsula is where that happened. So yeah, there was a lot. Again, this is geopolitics. It's not as easy as simple as good guys, bad guys. Sometimes the people you're rooting for as good guys are the actual scumbags, and the people who you think are the bad guys are the ones who are fighting for their lives. And people don't know this, yet they go to Ivy League schools.
Ethnic minority to a group of people that have historically, like genocided or ethnically cleansed them over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, they have not genocided.
Maybe not genocide, ethnically cleansed. Well, of course they've ethnically cleansed them, obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, they have not. They have not genocided or.
So you don't think after 48, after 67, after 73, after every single major Arab-Israeli war, you don't think that Jews have been essentially expelled from all of the surrounding Arab countries?
Oh yes, Jews have been expelled. Yes,
that's ethnic cleansing, right?
This is, you know what this is?
Wait, isn't that ethnic cleansing? That is ethnic cleansing. So then they have been ethnically cleansed. Go ahead.
And you know, as we discussed before, part of that was Zionist attacks in those countries in order to compel them. So they basically did what Israel wanted. They obliged with Zionist aims.
Wait, what were the attacks that Israel wanted? The Yom Kippur War in 73 was a surprise attack by...
They wanted to get Jews to leave those countries because they didn't have enough European Jews, and so they settled for, well, Arab Jews. That's why they had the Levant affair. That's why they attacked the Iraqi Jews. I mean, at what point are you going to understand that Zionism is not about protecting Jews? It's actually about sacrificing Jewish life in order to advance nationalist goals.
Sure. I mean, you keep saying that, but it
sounds like Nick Fuentes. Just go out and say it. Just say it, Mr. Journalist. Say Nick Fuentes has the right ideas. Go ahead. I want to hear all you lefties right now say it, because Nick Fuentes was saying the exact same thing. And even back then, I was rebuttaling him on his ignorance on Israel and the whole Zionist situation, right? When he was on Fresh and Fit, we did that. When we even reacted to the debate between him and Destiny, when he tried to pull that Zionist bullshit again, okay? Oh, what that guy? That Mike Sartain guy kept talking his ass off and whatnot, okay? Listen, okay? These guys are sounding exactly like Nick Fuentes, but yet months ago they aided in canceling him. All right, but now fast forward, they're sharing the same opinions. This is Nick Fuentes right here. Like, these guys are crazy, bro. If you don't understand your history, you are doomed to misunderstand it. That's for sure.
It feels like the historical rating. It seems like that's what Palestinians are used for. You keep talking about Jews fleeing from Iraq. What about all the Palestinians?
Jews? Why would Zionists attack Jews? Can you think of any good reason for Zionists, any acceptable reason for Zionists to attack Iraqi Jews?
I would have to read the very particular, what is the name of the particular thing you're talking about?
Zionist attacks on Iraqi Jews. Just look it up, man. You know about the Levant affair. You know that they did whatever they could to get Egyptian Jews to leave. I mean, look, here's a quote from David Ben-Gurion, the founder of the State of Israel. From 1937, he said, "If I had a choice between saving all of the Jewish children of Europe and sending them to Britain, or saving half of them and sending them to Palestine, I would choose the latter." He's happy to sacrifice Jewish children in order to nation build. That's Zionism.
I mean,
that is the core of Zionism.
Sure, and that's a fine quote, and we can try to go back to 1950.
And it's true.
We can try to go back to 1950, but what you're describing is that's literally what
with the Nazis.
That's literally
Zionists collaborated with the Nazis.
That's what you're accusing Israel of doing is literally what Hamas is doing right now.
That's so facts, bro. Again, this is what goes over a lot of these leftist heads. It just goes right over their heads. They're not understanding that what you're advocating for is what the enemy is doing. So you're not really bringing a real solution to the table. You're just complaining. All right, so what's the real solution? And none of them will tell you, oh, we want a one state where they all have equal rights. You're stupid. Two states a better option. If you're not talking two-state, I don't want to hear you. And the best way to have a two-state solution is get rid of Hamas, okay? Get rid of Hamas, let them go, and then let the Israeli government be comfortable with the new government that isn't as hostile to them as Hamas is. For Pete's sakes, you can't deny the videos that are coming out any longer. You have Hamas leaders saying they will not quit, they will not stop the violence until Israel is eradicated. Clearly, they're not in a winning position right now. Not even Arab countries are going to come to their rescue. Like, you have some lob missiles here and there, but they don't really want that fuck around and find out energy. They're not. They'll voice in words, but they're not actually going to send power down there. They're not stupid. They know that you guys were cannon fodder for this shit. So no one's backing them. You niggas, you're done. Okay, so the best way for a free Palestine is a cooperative government who is willing to look out for the Palestinian people and build their own state with the massive amounts of U.S. funding that we're giving them. Otherwise, I say we stop funding all these people entirely, because that includes Israel. The reason why is because I would say if Israel wants to continue to receive support from the United States, we got to stop sending that money to Qatar. Meaning whatever's black hand agency is instructing these guys to give money to Qatar, the terrorist state that's funding Hamas and Hezbollah, okay? We got to stop that. We need rational people who are thinking here, because this is a circular issue we're dealing with here. We're paying for this shit in an indirect way, all right? And the thing is, most people don't even know we have a military base in Qatar, a country that houses known terrorist leaders. Again, when I tell you about geopolitics, the bad guys may look good and the good guys may look bad, But just like the Transformers or Optimus Prime, there's more that meets the eye. You got to look closer at the situation because you're not going to get the full picture. What we're seeing now is a bunch of lefties who don't know the situation that's going on and how deeply your country, America, is involved in this, right? We don't know. We don't understand that. And plus, there's a whole nuclear balancing too as well, where they want to walk in this tightrope so they don't nuke each other. But still, right? Y'all got to know things, not instead of thinking it from this paradigm of colonizers versus indigenous people, because you're always going to fail.
What Israel did is, I mean, they collaborated with the Nazis. Look, why? It's what Israel's doing. Why, instead of like saying like, hey, maybe we need to have a democracy, Israel's saying, no, we're going to ethnically cleanse all these people, expel them into the Sinai.
Wait, but how did, I mean, like, there are literally Arab parties. There are literally Islamist parties in the Jewish government. There's literally Arabs that are sitting in the Knesset.
Are you okay? So what? What do I think?
Oh
so
my
what?
God!
That seems like a really weird thing if their goal is just ethnically cleanse like all of the Arab or Palestinian Arab people or whatever.
What's the point? Well, you said they were ethnically cleansing. Yeah, okay. Isn't that a weird form of ethnic cleansing by putting the people you're supposed to ethnically cleanse in position of power in your government? You're fucking tard, bro. You're a journalist.
All of their lands.
Wait, so because there's some Islamist party and there's some Palestinians in the Knesset, that means that they're not trying to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip? Have you seen the intelligence document that came out from the Israeli government?
If they're trying to,
do you know what the subjugation plan is?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these, and I'm familiar with a lot of the quote unquote.
It's all real. So you're trying to
but
paper over this by saying there's some Palestinians in the Knesset. Big deal, man.
So it feels like this is the playbook. So we can talk about like alleged activities. So like this Baghdad bombing, where there is no hard or solid proof of any of it. We can talk about.
Of course there is. There's no question.
We can talk about these things. What there's no question about is what Hezbollah's mission is. There's no question that all of the Arab states.
Why are you a Zionist? Why are you a Zionist? I don't even get
it. Whoa! Yo, this guy is getting crazy. He's getting unhinged. Like he's reading facts to you because you clearly don't know what's going on, and that makes him a Zionist. Yeah, bro. I think we've lost the plot. We've lost the plot, dude. You've lost, Mr. Journalist. Why are you a Zionist? Why? Okay, I wish Destiny would take this moment to just say, hey, can you tell me what a Zionist actually means, bro? Let us know what it means, because I think you formed an unhealthy ideology around the term Zionist. And you don't even know. You're getting passionate over something you know nothing about. All of a sudden, he's calling Destiny a Zionist. How?
Get it, man. You're like an American, like whatever YouTuber, streamer. Why are you so fanatically committed to Zionism?
I'm not fanatically committed to Zionism. If I have a fanatic commitment to anything, it's what is a realistic solution to the current problem that exists.
Why are you against democracy?
What? Hey, yo, this thing is crazy. Hey, I'm just asking you for a solution. Well, why are you against democracy? Huh? Yo, what you're seeing now, chat, is the little paradigm a lot of these lefties are trapped under. They literally, at this point, like I'm even beyond the part that because I used to think some of these lefties were doing this on purpose, right? I'm beyond that now. I genuinely think they've deluded themselves to believing that this is the actual dynamic, and any fact that comes across their desk, they're tossing it out the window in favor of their ideology, and it's crazy. And the more you try to make it make sense to them, the more they lash out at you, because their minds can't rationalize nuance. It doesn't exist anymore. This is crazy. Why are you against democracy? I'm asking you for a solution, bro.
That question is so meaningless that it doesn't even mean anything.
My proposal is very simple. I just think that everyone should have the same rights in that country. Just like
that's insanely not only childish of a solution, but it's indicative of someone who doesn't know anything about what's going on. You can't just instantly wave your hand. Listen, if it was a happy-go-lucky Disneyland world where you can just wave your hand in a magic wand, right? And you know how y'all watch those Disney shows when when the commercial ends and they come in and they do the little stuff with the wand, right? And they make the little Mickey Mouse symbol. Y'all remember that? Some of these Disney Channel shows, right? Where they come in and they just go, woo, woo, woo. I remember that because what's that chick's name? Amanda Bynes, right? Y'all, who remembers? Was she a Disney Channel or Nickelodeon? No, it wasn't Amanda Bynes. It was somebody else, but I do remember Amanda Bynes. But yeah, y'all, you can't just wave your wand and just have a magical state where everybody is singing kumbaya and holding hands and marching down the sunset and happy-go-lucky. That's not gonna happen, bro. It's not. There's no way in hell. Matter of fact, there's just too much blood that has been spilled for that to ever go back to that situation. Hamas has to leave the government, and like literally, you need time for the people to heal after this conflict before you can even get to that situation. And even then, you have agencies like Qatar, again, who runs other organizations other than Hamas, like Hezbollah. So meaning if you get rid of Hamas, you still got them. And then you got Iran, who's got massive amounts of money and have a vested interest in spreading Shia throughout the Middle East, okay, including to Saudi Arabia and all these other countries out there who are, by the way, definitely scared of Iran and a war with them. They're scared of Iran. And by the way, Iran is growing in power and influence, especially with this Shia situation with Hamas right now, especially when they're throwing their weight in support, especially with Qatar as well, because what they're showing to a lot of the radical Muslims that are still out there, they're saying, hey, we're still the countries that if you want to go buck wild, we'll support you. Yeah, we're still Iran. Remember, we're the country that said death to America? Yeah, we're the only ones that will back Hamas in the face of other countries not doing it, other Arab nations. That's why you guys should become Shia. Iran, they're playing a very, very interesting political game. Again, someone who's an idiot like this, who doesn't understand how leaders and geopolitics work, okay, they're not going to see that. They're just going to say, oh, well, but they're being oppressed. I just see what I see. I don't see anything more than that. That's why people like you get conquered, dumbass.
All other countries, just like this country. Why do you oppose democracy?
Well, it's not a matter of opposing democracy, right?
Of course it is. You're criticizing my proposal.
In the cartoon where Benjamin Franklin is quoted as 2 wolves and a lamb having a vote on what to have for lunch.
So you think there's like some kind of inherent difference between Palestinians and
hold on,
Israelis?
answer my question. Do you think Ben Franklin didn't support democracy for that quote?
Well, I'm saying that
do you think that Ben Franklin didn't support democracy because of that quote?
No, you oppose democracy.
Do you think that Benjamin Franklin didn't? Do you think
how does Destiny oppose democracy? The guy literally benefits from it, for Pete's sakes. He's bisexual. Whoa, come on, dude. This is far-fetched, bro. You're a journalist, really? Is this what journalists do? Is this a journalistic tactic? Actually, you know what? It kind of makes sense he's a journalist because this is what we see on Twitter. God damn, bro.
Benjamin Franklin opposed him. I'm just asking. I don't know where that came from. Hold on, I'm asking you. Do you think that Benjamin Franklin opposed democracy because he said that liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote? Do you think that he was opposing democracy if the 2 wolves wanted to eat and the lamb didn't want to be eaten? Was that him opposing democracy?
But what the analogy here is, you're saying that Jewish Israelis are lambs and that Palestinians or Arabs are all wolves. That's straight up racist, man.
Ooh, again. Listen, pay attention to these liberals or these lefties. I'm sorry, I keep using that interchangeably, but pay attention. He's sounding like Hassan. Bro. I'm starting to get the feeling you don't really give a fuck about Palestinian people, okay? Because y'all remember how Hassan always assumed that the Palestinian Arabs were just these dirty, poor, and you guys are bringing in that racial paradigm. No one else is bringing that into the mix. Destiny not once brought that up, and yet you're bringing that up. So unless you've been thinking about it or it's a subconscious thing for you, you're wrong. You're in the wrong here, bro. Like, again, watch these people, all right? Even if they're fighting for your movement, they're not really for your movement. It's just a thing that's passing at the time. For instance, remember a couple months ago where they were all gung-ho for Ukraine? Now that shit's done. Now they're on to the next thing. And this is why people hate Americans, especially like some of the uneducated Westerners, because y'all will go so hard for a movement and then dump it out for the next thing. Like y'all are being consumers with political movements, bro. Just like you would with any other products. You use it and dump it. Like Americans don't really care, and it shows, bruh. This is embarrassing.
And
it's not
just
racist.
Totally
none of this has
racism.
None of this has to do with racism. It has to do with the idea.
It totally does. No racist
totally
admits that they're racist. Come on, man. Like, you oppose democracy, you think Palestinians and Arabs are all wolves, and like you can't see the obvious reality to anybody who examines the history and the current situation.
Yeah, I
that
understand.
Israel has
Yeah,
always been the
sure,
aggressor.
but
It
you
was
haven't given
born
me
out
like
of,
you
of
haven't given
terrorism.
me
It
you
is a
haven't
terrorist
given me
state. That's
any
it.
examples of that. It seems like your readings on most of these things are either ahistorical or just willing to engage with a conspiracy or two.
You didn't even know when the state
want-
of Israel was existed. You got the timeline.
You
all
can
mixed
go
up,
back
man.
and you can look up.
Nah, now you're being disingenuous, and you're a journalist. Oh my god, yeah, your career is done, buddy. I don't think you know how big this guy is. He's got almost 800,000 subs. All right, and he's got the most loyal base out there, dog. You're done. Anybody who would have taken you seriously if you had any legitimate arguments, they're now looking at you as a clown, bro. I got to look at Destiny's comment section too, because it's got to be going crazy over here. This person says, not sure what's more laughable, this guy's meltdown or how much intellectual authority he believes he has due to being a journalist. He embodies everything wrong with journalism. That's got over 2,000 likes. Facts. Yo, this person says he destroyed any journalistic integrity he had with this debate. Yo, facts. He said Dan calling himself a journalist holds the same way that Sadik the Sinner called himself a technologist. Fucking A. This person says, for professional, this guy was kind of a disappointment. Maybe insulting the person you're having a conversation with makes sense in the journalism world. No, it don't. But that's not what you do when you're trying to be taken seriously. You don't tell someone how much you know. You display how much you know. You don't tell someone how much better you are. You display your abilities, and the audience sees it for themselves. This is actually factual. And right now, the audience are seeing that you're a joke of a journalist, dude. God damn, bro.
Clips on that if you want.
Did you read this history off the back of the Cracker Jack box?
I'm pretty sure I got the dates right.
You got to spend less time.
Pretty sure that I got the dates right. You haven't given me a good. You haven't
time streaming and read more history
clip farming.
books.
Is that like, do we all live for TikTok now? Is that what?
No, man. You interrupt me nonstop.
I'm not interrupting.
Yo, this has got to be a pattern. Yo, yo, the switch up was crazy. Like, you can tell the moment when he switched up. Now you can see the tactic at play, right? Now he's gonna shove all these attacks at you, right, and then insinuate you were saying things and accuse you of doing or saying things that you never said, all to throw off the scent, right? So then he can walk away feeling like he won something. But in actuality, he just made a clown out of himself. But he's a journalist, though. I mean, it makes sense. This is why journalism in America sucks. Okay, because we got idiots like this calling themselves journalists.
You ramble onto the irrelevant things, and I'm just trying to get to pretty simple points.
You interrupt me all the time. You don't
because you're rambling. You took like 5 minutes to tell me that Jews don't care about the Temple Mount.
Which is
no, that's not it. See, now you're putting words in my mouth. You don't know anything about Judaism. You don't know anything about Zionism. And you're a YouTuber who lives in your living room, and that's how you make your living. I am a journalist. I actually have skin in the game. I go to places that I talk about. Okay. So I actually know what I'm talking about, unlike you.
Gotcha. So you think that Jews...
I'm a journalist, man. He pulled the I'm a journalist card. Hey, nigga, I've been to those places. I'm a journalist. Trust me, bro. Yeah, bro. Hey, this right here should be a reason enough for anybody. Don't trust journalists just because they say they're journalists, okay? They probably don't know what they're doing. Oh, my God. Dude.
Would feel safe in a one-state solution. You don't think they have any reason to feel like their rights would be infringed upon, programs would happen, expulsions would happen?
Keep going back to this.
Well, because that's the whole reason. I'm not
hating democracy, dude.
I'm just trying to engage with what is a realistic solution forward.
We've been through this like 10 times. You keep asking me the same thing.
Do you think that when you're in the Gaza Strip and you're talking to other Arabs there, do you think that they're happy that people like you are encouraging the violence to continue indefinitely so you can build journalistic careers on it? Like, does that make you feel good? I'm just curious, right? Like, how many people have you met that have died in the recent attacks and you're out here like on the internet jerking off an unworkable solution that'll never happen because it gets you clicks? Like, it's disgusting.
Buddy.
You realize that, right? Can you admit that? You know that a one-state solution will never happen, right? You understand that do you acknowledge that?
This guy definitely doesn't know who Destiny is. He definitely does not. I mean, he can meet you in person if you want him to pull up. He'll do it. I've seen him. We all were here when he went through his red pill arc. He was right there in their faces. Him and his wife. All right, so they ran amok over here. Like the fact that you're just saying you live on the internet, like you're using that claim against him. Yeah, dude, your career is shot. I'm sorry, bro, but ain't nobody that does more research than Destiny. He does it live on stream. So when you're out there doing whatever the fuck all you're doing, okay, he's actually doing research, and we can see him. His audience sees him, right? I'm subscribed to his channel, so I go in and I see when he goes live, and I see stuff, right? So he does research. He does streams that are long, and they're like 10,000 people who are all there doing the research with them, and they're engaged in his chat. Okay, you don't see that in other channels. It's at least to that degree that he does it, right? It's especially to that higher of viewership. And you're gonna sit there, they say he doesn't do anything. Oh, you're crazy. You lost.
A one-state solution
who just wants to cheer on
Nazi
Benjamin
fascist.
Netanyahu.
All right.
Benjamin, no, you called for genocide. I have the clip right here. Why don't we play it? Why don't we play this clip?
Is that we're doing the clip farming now? I don't have to. I don't talk in clips. I don't exist in 30-second clips.
Why don't we play?
Because I don't exist in 30-second clips. You have me right here.
No. Why don't we play it?
This is it. This is all it is. It's the clip farming. Why don't we play it? It's the clip farming. Yeah.
No, this is you calling for genocide. Why don't we actually play it and show your audience? Because I know you tried to hide it from your stream, so people couldn't actually see it.
Do you want to go through your tweets where you're claiming U.S. Special Forces are in Israel on the Gaza border, and it's literally pictures of like LARPing military? Oh, do you have any evidence of that?
U.S. Special Forces are in Israel. You can look it up.
I didn't say in Israel. I said on the Gaza border. You said they were on the Gaza border, and Israel on the Gaza border.
Here's you calling for genocide.
Look, even in the tweet it says Gaza border, bro. Like this guy. Look, chat. Look at this.
Listen,
look up here. Watch.
You said they were on the Gaza border, and Israel on the Gaza border.
Here's you calling for genocide.
Listen, I'm good, dude.
On the Gaza border, and yeah, that's
U.S. Special Forces are in Israel.
They weren't on the Gaza border, bro. They were in Israel. They just weren't on the Gaza border. Again, my boy's bringing up a tweet that's disproving him. That's crazy, dog.
You can look it up.
I didn't say in Israel. I said on the Gaza border. You said they were on the Gaza border, and Israel on the Gaza border.
Here's you calling for genocide.
Listen, I'm good, dude. If you want to talk in the future,
let me know. Are you gonna cut me off because I'm showing you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and have you play clips to me like we're 4 years old, my dude. Like if you don't want to engage with the subject matter, if you don't know anything about what's going on, if you just want to throw out like a bunch of weird like Zionist.
This guy is losing his mind. Hey, yo, what's wrong with what was with that laugh, dog? Why you laughing like that, dog? That's crazy.
Subject matter. If you don't know anything about what's going on, if you just want to throw out like a bunch of weird like Zionist conspiracy theories,
you did it with the least laugh. Like, what was funny? You getting toasted right now, guy. What is happening? Is this nigga all right? Hey, somebody phone him. Somebody send him a text. I hope he's okay after this interview because I don't think he's all right, bro. Something wrong here, dog.
You just want to sit here like talk about how the only possible solution is a one-state solution. Man, that's fine.
Man, are you gonna tickle?
Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out.
Are you gonna tickle Netanyahu's balls some more? Who is this man? What is wrong with him? Super Plantano Man shot you for the $5 super chat. God damn, bro. Yo, this is crazy. I can't believe he lost it like this. Just witness the anger in this guy's heart, bro. And then you got to ask yourself, are these the kind of angry people you want supporting your movements? If anything, you want these people far away from your movement as possible because clearly this guy is dealing with something else other than this Gaza situation. And to him, this is just the perfect distraction he needs to voice all of his frustrations because I don't understand how someone can be this unhinged. This is insane. Super Plantano Man, shout out to you for $5 super chat, says Israel doesn't want a two-state solution. Yeah, Netanyahu doesn't want that. He says Israel doesn't want a one-state solution. They want a status quo, no Palestinian rights, and that's why people bring up apartheid. I don't know about that, right? I don't know so much about that. I do agree with you that the current government doesn't want a two-state solution, right? But I do still think that the two-state solution is the better option. And I think that's going to come about after Netanyahu gets out of office, right? Because I think when the far-right government in Israel are, super against, because they're super against the two-state, you're never going to have that. See, on one hand, you have the far-right Israeli government that are against the two-state solution. And on the other hand, you have Hamas that are also against the two-state solution. This is why you're not going to see peace for a very long time until either both parties are replaced, right? So we got a new person who's more open to normalizing relationships with the new regime as long as Hamas is there. But at this point, you can't have Hamas be there anymore. After this attack that they did on the 7th, you can't trust that anymore, yet alone loosen up restrictions around your borders, knowing fully well these guys can come in at any time and fuck you up. They have to be completely eradicated, and then we got to start working towards a new situation in Palestine or the areas that they have between the West Bank and Gaza Strip. But until then, you're absolutely right. Neither of them want a two-state solution. Neither of them want a one-state solution. They want the status quo, meaning super unrest in the Middle East, because a lot of these guys are funding each other. Again, let me tell you this. This is why people who pick a side, you're stupid, right? Because, again, America is bombing Hamas right now, or they're aiding and protecting Israel in bombing Hamas, and yet United States is the one that pays Israel to pay Qatar to pay Hamas and keep them funded. You see how this shit doesn't make any sense, right? It's just like, And then all of a sudden, the 7th on October attack happened when relationships were just getting to a point where we can start normalizing stuff, especially with Saudi Arabia, right? And now, who has a vested interest in ensuring that Saudi Arabia does not get a nuclear weapon deal? Well, Iran. Iran has a big incentive to keep Saudi Arabia out of having that normalization with Israel to work towards a nuclear deal. Who else has that motivation to not have normalizations between Israel and Saudi Arabia? Oh, Qatar, because Qatar is threatened by Saudi Arabia. Okay, so again, you got to understand the political situation that's going on. It goes deeper than that. Again, Islam is not just a religion; it's a politic. It's a politics. It's a political religious system as well. Especially when you start looking at how these countries operate, it's very, very clear. And it's very ingeniously structured if you objectively look at it, right? I know some people who are living under the thumb of certain areas, they don't really enjoy that area so much. But if you look at the way it's set up, it's actually pretty ingenious, because that's the easiest way to set up a one state with one people and a one religion like that. It's pretty smart.
I hope the Russian paychecks are worthwhile. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun, my dude.
You got fucked.
Jesus Christ. This is what I felt like every single.
He's a journalist.
If you don't know what you think about what's going on,
you're gonna cut me off because I'm showing you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and have you play clips to me like we're 4 years old, my dude. Like, if you don't want to engage with the subject matter, if you don't know what you think about what's going on, if you just want to throw out like a bunch of weird like Zionist conspiracy theories, you just want to sit here and like talk about how the only possible solution is a one-state solution, that's fine.
Are you gonna tickle?
Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. I hope the Russian paychecks are worthwhile. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun, my dude.
You got fucked.
Jesus Christ.
Get him out of there, bro.
That's what I felt like every single debate is going to be.
It's actually worse than this is worse than debating red pillars, dog. It really is. What I'm starting to realize, the far left debating them they're actually way more unhinged than some of these red pillars, bro. Destiny, you got to understand this. I think he's starting to realize that going into his new arc, because this is the new Destiny arc, and I'm actually excited because I want to see where this goes. I'm reacting to a lot more of these videos, but it's one of those things where, as he's going through his new arc right now, yeah, bro, you could absolutely tell these are the kind of people he's going to be running into. And these are the kind of clips he's going to be seeing, especially when you got idiots like Hassan running around saying shit he don't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's crazy, dude went off like that.
This is the original clip that this guy, this Hassan editor, I think he's a Hassan editor, people keep saying that, is posting on like Twitter or whatever.
Honestly,
so I think West comes in. He's like, "What is the solution to the problem, or whatever?"
Honestly, I'm pro. Like, it sounds really, but like, I think that Israel should just draw its borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really. But like, that's about where I'm at.
You just think the Palestine should just pack up and Native American the out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, definitely the Middle East.
Okay, that's where the clip gets cut off at. This is I think the last like
All
45
So
seconds.
it does because I was kind of worried when I heard that at first. I'm like, yo, Destiny, what? But he was actually okay. When he was expanding on it and it got cut short, it actually makes sense. Okay, I see where he's going. Yeah, I didn't think he's not serious about that. Okay, yeah. That guy's a journalist. Okay.
After that, truthfully, the answer is like there's no good answer. It's hard. It's hard. It's a really, really complicated situation.
Well, thanks
Because
for,
it seems like appeasing either end basically means like kind of the destruction of the other end. If you give Jewish people what they want, Palestinians are essentially permanently cucked out of what they feel is their rightful homeland. And if you give Palestinians what they want, then probably a lot of Jewish people are going to die. It's annoying when somebody like so blatantly like, and I say this before, remember, I also say this about my enemies too. When you see like a 15-second clip of Bashar Hassan, oftentimes there's more context, right?
Oh, so they clip. Oh, okay. So the first clip is the full context, and the second clip is the one where it's out of context, where they're trying to call Destiny basically a genocidal maniac. Yo, this is how far you lefties are willing to go. Just make up shit. This is crazy. And then, yo, I can't even. Whoa, my mind's actually kind of fucked up because I'm used to red pill people telling us that we have shit out of context while they put shit out of context. I'm actually not used to seeing lefties put things out of context while screaming other people have things out of context. This is a weird paradigm we're getting into, chat. I don't know what's happening. What is going on?
The fact that this guy would cut this 30-second clip from like 3 months ago before October 7th, anything like that, is so stupid. It's so bad faith. But whatever. Well, that guy made a documentary with Max Blumenthal and writes for the Gray Zone. Oh, I guess that makes sense, huh?
John says, really, Duke? You've missed out on the last 7 years. Yeah, bro. Like, honestly, I was too focused on red pill people. I had no idea. Like, listen, I knew like some of the guys on the left were unhinged, right? But I thought they were just a small minority on TikTok and not TikTok, Twitter, right? But like, it was because some of the leftists I knew in person. Again, I work in technology, right? And a lot of places in my area, they're staunch leftists, right? This is where you see a lot of people who are, out there, but they're not crazy people. They understand what's really going on. Okay, so you can have a conversation with them and you can get into the nuances and get into the understanding of what's really going on. They don't support the terrorists, but they also sympathize with the Palestinian plight. Now, again, you don't really, when I'm in that world in reality, because reality is where I spend most of my time in. Okay, so not online dealing with red pill people. When I see red pill people saying dumb shit, yeah, so I focus on that. But yeah, now I think seeing all this anti-Semitism coming from the far left, I think that's where it's one of those things where I'm awake now, right? I used to be asleep to this shit. I'm to be honest with you. You'd be asleep to this shit. Now you wake up, you're like, yo, I thought y'all would be at least, when it comes to knowing you're sounding like Nick Fuentes, you would realize, hey, we're sounding just like Nick Fuentes here. And now this is my awakening. I'm just like, oh, okay. Now I'm seeing other people who are leaving the left and they're running for the hills. They're like, yo, you guys are crazy. I mean, look how unhinged this guy just was. Okay, look how from 0 to 100, and not only that, he's putting shit out of context. Look how unhinged he went. Who wants to be partners with people like this? I don't want to be part of this shit because then I can't even have a conversation with somebody like this. You know, start calling me a fascist too. What do you call it? I'm pro genocide. Is that what you're gonna be saying? Right? Like, what is it? Like, get a fucking clue. No, I'm just not John, literally, bro. I'm just now realizing this shit. I had no idea the listen, I knew that some of the people in like I've met and had conversations with who are on the left, or I would consider far left. Okay. I knew there were some racist tendencies, and I've even called it out here. But to the extent that like we're seeing with a lot of these younger people out there who are marching in the streets talking about we want Jew blood and shit, it's like, okay, maybe we have a deeper problem than I originally thought. I thought it was like a fringe, chaos thing. Kind of like what I thought with the incel movement, right? When it was just fringe online shit where nerds get together and talk about how bad they hate women. Didn't realize that until I started hearing that shit in the real world. I'm like, oh, this is a real problem. Oh, There are people. Oh wow! So you actually know Andrew Tate and you fuck with him? Yeah, we're fucked. Yeah, I can't believe I actually know a person that actually fucks with him. I thought it was just internet people. So when you start seeing that stuff affect you in real life, you're like, yeah, we need to speak out against this, right? But up until now, I haven't seen that staunch anti-Semitism as I'm seeing right now. And honestly, that attack in Chicago, where the woke mob were just beating up on innocent people. Again, I'm in Wisconsin. I'm not that far away from Chicago because this was the first thing that like, I was paying. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? You play this, these guys. And there are cops right there. There are cops right there. There are cops right there. Are the cops going to do anything to these protesters? No, they're not. Just let this guy get beat up on. When the people see this, the guy who has a badge right there, you're supposed to protect and serve, right? You're supposed to protect people's rights. Yeah, they have the right to protest, but people also have the right to be there and be free from being accosted or being violated or being abused. Yet we see this. Again, I've seen this play before. All right. I've seen it with George Floyd. I've seen it with the COVID marches. Okay. These people, all right, the woke people, they're a problem now. And a lot of people are now starting to realize the same thing. They're seeing that there's a distinct group of people who dominate the far left that seem to find their way into a lot of these movements, and they hijack it for whatever cause they got going on. And we don't even know. But we know the end result is violence, and then they end up turning a whole people against the very movement that was supposed to either bring people together or speak out for something. We see this pattern over and over and over again. Now, I don't want to get conspiratorial, and I won't, but I wonder who's funding or doing these things, right? Who has a vested interest to do stuff like this? Because, like, again, with the George Floyd, someone had to insert that agent provocateur. Like, someone has to insert that. So like, again, maybe not. Maybe because I refuse to believe that normal protesters just go violent like that, right? Maybe that is the case, okay? But I've been involved in peaceful protesting, and I've never seen things go crazy unless there are people who are out there seeking violence that join that stuff, right? And it's just sad to see. Again, when Scott Walker here in Wisconsin, back when he was governor, tried to take away the unions for teachers, I marched for that because I believe in teachers. I believe in teachers. Some of these college ones, it's a different story. But yeah, I marched for that. That was completely peaceful. Right. And it's stuff like that when you support. But when you see things like this, Black Lives Matter, right? When Tony Robinson got killed here in, down in Madison here, right? He was killed by an officer, right? A white officer. I marched for that because actually he went to the same high school, right? Which was crazy. We actually knew this guy, right? So we marched for that. When I tell you that there's a Black Lives Matter on the street and there's a corporate BLM, I'm not joking, right? The corporate BLM, I suspect they probably are part of the reason why the whole BLM as a whole is looked at funny. But again, there are different movements out there, and they're agent provocateurs that are there to sow chaos no matter what. Because again, that's what this world thrives on, and it's just unfortunate. That's what I got for you guys here today, folks. Okay, now for those of you guys who came for the show, shout out to you. I appreciate you being here. All right, but for those of you guys who like to stay for the ones and twos, all right, I got to get your opinions on this. My chat 1 and 2 army, let's get it. Okay, who do you think won the debate? I'm laughing because I already know the answer, but like, who do you think won the? But I'm reason I'm laughing because I might actually be wrong, because there might be some people in here that might say, oh, you know what? I think Dan won the debate. Like, I mean, come on, Duke, you're clearly blind here. You need to do more research. Okay, do the research. Okay, let me know. Put a 1 if you think Destiny won. Put a 2 if you believe that Dan won. Okay, and you gotta explain what your reasoning is. Okay, now no matter what side of the aisle you're in, you gotta condemn the violence that's happening, and especially what Israel's doing to those kids. But most definitely Hamas and the violence that they've caused. Okay, if you're unwilling to condemn Hamas, then you probably shouldn't be having this conversation right now. You have to condemn that terrorist group. They have to go. All right, and that's it. That's the only way you can have a conversation, because if you start from the point of, well, look what Israel's been doing throughout this whole time with the occupation and open air prison and the apartheid. If you start from there, you're going to lose. It's not an argument. It's not an argument because people can do a research. Okay, it's not. But if you can condemn the fact that Palestinian people are under the oppressive Hamas regime who doesn't care about them, and you're in favor of getting rid of them, bro, we can talk. But until then, if you have a nation ran by terrorists, funded by terrorists, your plight. I'm sorry, bro. I don't want to be associated with that. I'm not. Anybody else who's associated with that, you're being looked at as crazy. All right, you got to understand what country you live in, because not all countries share the same values as you do. You got to understand that. and some of y'all on the far left that are for Hamas, just know that they don't share the same value as you do and as we do in America. That's why we have a vested interest in keeping this place free and hopefully, spreading that freedom across the world. But we don't want to force it on anybody, because the world is different and people believe in other things. Okay. But that's all I got for you guys today. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't hit the like button already. And I am going to catch you guys on the next one. Actually, the next show is going to be crazy, bro. The next show is about to be crazy. But I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.